I'm beating myself up. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Monday edition of Locks Before Lock, presented by Odd Shopper. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking this 9-game slate. But one guy, and I can't blame him, who's probably not as excited to be talking NBA hoops right now is my friend over there, Jazz Raz DFS, over on the Twitters. He's Ben Rasa. I don't even know what to say. This has been a heartbreaking morning. I mean, obviously, my Sam Burns ticket, just sacrifice that to the gods. I don't care. But you were sweating hard in the millie. Everybody is saying that you're going to be 60K, 65K of equity in the millie. And I don't even know what to say. Ben, how you doing, my buddy?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it was not the best golf day for me. Monday finish. I thought we had a little shot there. We did not. Very, very bad. But you know what? Great thing about this is you get to turn the page each and every week. And for the NBA, each and every day, we got 9 games here on Locks Before Lock. We're going to get them. We're going to try to find some value. Certainly, it's March Madness week. I'm not going to let the golf bring me down. I'm excited to hop on with you, buddy.
Blinders. We just got to tunnel vision this thing. NCAA, for those who don't know, this guy in the golf streets, this guy in the college sports the streets. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So he's the guy you want to be following for all your bracket advice. Check out the show that he just got done doing with our friend, Matt Kajewski, the drinker of Four Locos, drinker of Four Locos, eater of canned tuna.
True.
Better at talking than me. Let's all smash that like button, subscribe button, notification bell as we get started here. I'm talking fast because we have to go fast. We got 9 games to get to. We've got a Players Championship to still watch the end of because, why not at this point? Misery loves company. That's it.
Watch it. Why not?
First game off the docket, everybody. We're heading to Odd Shopper. It's the number one place you can go to find the best bets on the board every single day. It doesn't matter what you're looking for. 30 seconds or less, you're able to find high ROI bets with expected win percentages. That's going to help. It's going to be the catalyst for a lot of the stuff we do here. But first game, right off the bat, my friend, we've got a very, very shorthanded Clippers team. Going to be a value du jour here on this slate. No Marcus Morris, no Reggie Jackson, no Robert Covington. At Cleveland 212, this line's moved from +5 to +7.5, rightfully so here for the Clippers. What sticks out to you here in the very first game of the slate?
Yeah, you mentioned. So there's obviously a lot of value in the prop world. If you're looking at guys, someone like Terrence Mann is going to show up. Maybe Batum, your coffee grades out as a prop we should potentially be looking at. So I get it there. I'm going to talk quickly about the Cavs, though, on the other side. Healthy favorite. And Darius Garland, it's interesting. You can look to short his points if you want it under 24.5. But we're also saying that a large percentage of those points may be via 3-pointer. Over 2.5 threes at +140 is a potential plus money prop that you can bet. So a lot of options here. You mentioned the spread has moved quite a bit. So I'm not going to take anything on a side, but I think for some of these peripheral guys, it's worthy of being on your card. Odd Choppers identified some value.
Yeah, what I generally like doing a lot. So I was able to bet some Amir Coffey points, Amir Coffey rebounds, Nicholas Batum points, Nicholas Batum rebounds. As soon as that news broke that all of those guys were going to be out. So it's a quick trigger finger thing. So now I was kind of like, well, I want to get the under. I want to try to sandwich some of these because you get an opportunity where now you can kind of short them for free. And I headed to Odd Shopper to kind of see which one would be the best. Looks as though going to Ivica Zubac's, another guy that I bet in addition to them, I was able to get 9.5 and now 10.5. It's not enough of a real sandwich to really go there. But he's still looking like the best bet that's available here on the board. I think Amir Coffey, as much as his rebound prop changed, he's been starting for this team. I just think there's an opportunity to go his direction over rebounds. And Terrence Mann over 3.5 assists, maybe my favorite out of all of them. I think a theme throughout this show for me for this 9-gamer, there's a lot of plus money bets you can get. And if you go 50% on a spot where you're getting +105 on both the Amir Coffey rebounds, +105 assists for Terrence Mann, if you can get some of these plus money bets, kind of put 5-6 of them together and you go 50%, you just had a winning day. And if they already project as bets that are going to win a majority of the time, which these are 59% expected win percentage there, 63% expected win percentage for Amir Coffey, you're looking at having a nice opportunity. What do you think about the Clippers side?
Yeah, I think you summed it up perfectly. Like, again, it's not just about expected win percentage. You have to factor in the line. And some of these props that we like, Terrence Mann is a perfect example. You're getting plus money there. So your break-even point is lower, and the expected win percentage is actually north of 50%. So some of these guys, I don't think the books do a great job of adjusting with the personnel differences. And that is why this game, I think from a prop standpoint, can be very lucrative.
Yeah, I just don't know who else is going to handle the basketball and do anything to create opportunities other than Terrence Mann. That over 3.5 assists is probably my favorite on the book. Let's keep it moving, my friend. Second game of the night. And this is kind of nice. We get this rolling kind of evening. I'm going to be able to late swap in DFS. And I'm going to be able to add things to my card as the night goes on. Denver +3 at Philadelphia, 224 total. This game, I'm getting very, very scary vibes coming off of an overtime in Orlando yesterday for the Sixers. I don't know, maybe Joel Embiid out of the middle of nowhere gets rested, but this is the MVP matchup for all intents and purposes here. Embiid versus Jokic. What sticks out to you here in this one?
Yeah, so if everyone is in, and of course in the next couple hours we'll find out this information, what a great game. Sixers slight favorite at home. Really good one to watch. From the prop world, though, as much as I can't wait to see Embiid and Jokic, I really don't see a ton of value in any of their props, shorting or going over. I think the lines are pretty efficient. What we've identified, via Odd Chopper is some of the peripheral stats, some block props, which are always things that I rarely look at, but a lot of times they come up as good ROIs. Or then guys, Thibault, Tobias Harris, things like that. You can possibly look to short the assists or for Thibault to rebound. So you've got opportunities. I lean, if everyone is in with the Sixers at home here, I would lay the 2.5. You can find 2.5 out there if you shop it. But what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I had clicked on Pass. Pass was the game. The two prospective ads that I have in the queue on the old prizepicks.com, something I can throw out there. One of our lovely sponsors here on these shows. I get to play over there quite a bit. Being in California gives me an opportunity to kind of get my prop exposure. But I've queued up Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey over of both of them. And if that news comes in that either Harden or Embiid is out, I literally have it queued up 16.5 and 15.5 respectively. The over of those player props, I think, would be absolute smashes. Now, they're already high numbers, and I think blowout risk would become maybe a thing. Well, definitely a thing if there's no Joel Embiid here. There would be an opportunity to really take advantage of those numbers. James Harden definitely being a contributor here. I would want to get to points props of him as well if he were to be absent Embiid. But these are all speculative ads. Nothing that sticks out to me as it stands right now.
Yeah, again, a good game, but that doesn't mean that you have to force it. I lean to the Sixers in the game, pending everyone's good. But I like what you said there. You can always react to some of the dominoes that could fall.
Well, here we go. From a game that everybody's looking forward to actually watching to a team that, my God, I don't know what to say. Josh Hart put up 5,000 pinball numbers of fantasy points the other night. We've got Portland plus 13.5 at Atlanta, 229.5. I don't know. Portland just got done beating Washington out of the middle of nowhere. All I've done is bet the minus 18.5 spreads that they've faced against Utah and other legitimate teams. They've just been horrible. And now you go into Atlanta. I'm not going to be betting a spread, but my God, Odd Chopper loves a lot of these props, and I can't blame them. Which is your favorite, Ben?
Yeah, so this is not likely to be a competitive game, but that doesn't mean there's not good value. So Drew Eubanks clearly stands out, over 10.5 points at plus 102. So not only is it a good number, considering we have him projected north of 13 points, plus money. If that was minus 125, minus 130, we would still probably be advocating to go over there. But this is, I don't know how you don't put this on your card, considering what you can do here. You could go points, rebounds, assists. You could just go rebounds. Clearly a guy that we have to look at tonight in the prop world.
Yeah, so if you click on Drew Eubanks, what happens is everything comes up for his other props, and you have an opportunity to kind of scan the board on what else might stick out. We don't have the expected ROI or win percentage numbers there, but I feel a little bit more comfortable going 19.5 points plus rebounds plus assists for Drew Eubanks, as you kind of alluded to there. These minutes are secure, even in blowouts. He's on 10-day contracts, playing repeatedly here for a Portland team that's shorthanded, that has no talent, that basically cleared everything off the roster and is waiting for another day, another opportunity. Maybe Lillard and Simmons come back. I know that they would be in the play-in game. I still believe in the Western Conference as it stands. I think they'd be like a 9 or a 10. But looking at Brandon Williams, I like the over of his 15.5 points. I like the over of Drew Eubanks, 19.5. all of these numbers just seem a little bit low. And I know Trendon Watford can come in and relieve him in some spots, but if Drew Eubanks plays legitimate, which again, they have no reason to not have him out there playing big minutes. We saw 39 in that win against Washington. If the game is remotely competitive, he gets up to 29, 30 minutes, and this is just a smash at 19.5. So I'm going to probably go with the security of getting the rebounds in addition to the points. Yeah, I'm giving up about 10 cents, but I'm okay doing it in this spot with my friend, my friend for today, because he probably isn't very good at basketball. Drew Eubanks, Charlotte, -11 at OKC, 230.5 here. Isaiah Roby seems to be the guy that sticks out on OddsShopper. I think that is a very straightforward play. Only played 16 minutes yesterday. I don't have many concerns considering it was a back-to-back, considering Bazley was going nuclear. What sticks out to you in Charlotte, OKC, Ben?
Yeah, so another game that I think if you you don't really have it circled on the calendars unless you're a real sicko. But again, just like Eubanks, Roby stands out. There's no doubt. And ironically, it's the same thing I just said. It's not just over 12.5 points is a good number because we have projected north of 15. It's plus 104 out there if you're shopping that around. So that's one. When you see plus money on props that we're saying you're going to hit at a healthy clip north of 50%, it's hard to ignore that. I think you've identified it. I like to go to SGA props, but today specifically, I didn't see a ton with him. 7.5 assists. We have him projected right around there. I think that's going to be a pass for me. You mentioned Bazley. I'm okay with that. I don't have a ton to say, but I think clearly Roby is the prop to hit from this game.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Roby is who I meant. If I said Bazley, I mean, Bazley's a guy that I love as a real basketball player. His defensive efficiency numbers are pretty good. Not really offensively. He's been offensively challenged since the bubble back in the Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Dennis Schroeder combination days. He fitted nicely in kind of that system for a year, and it's been a little tough sledding offensively since then. But Isaiah Roby, once again, he only played 16 minutes yesterday. It's kind of a weird rotation to be looking at. They just basically played Bazley at the 5 and called it a day, but it's a back-to-back here. I think maybe limiting him, giving him an opportunity to run a little bit more against a front court that has Mason Plumlee, who's at least size, Montrezl Harrell, who can be the energy guy, but Roby can match up well against there as well. I think there's more minutes, more points in store for him here. So I think that sticks out. Shai Steals one is just fine by me taking the under there, but for me, that's just not something that I'm going to have much access to. So I'm probably going to leave it at that. Anything else from this game?
No, you mentioned one of the main things about OddsShopper is that you can quickly shop the odds. And this is a game you want to do that on the spread side. I can find Charlotte -10.5 out there. I can also find OKC plus 12. So that's a gigantic difference. It's a 1.5. So if you're looking to back one of these sides, make sure you're not sloppily taking the first number available. Get the extra 1.5 in your direction. That makes a huge difference.
All right, a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, smash the like button. I want this thing trailing up as we get to the 5 p.m. Eastern time deeper dive. Looking forward to that live before lock. You know the drill on Mondays now. You get Josh and Adam for that time. Or sorry, not Josh and Adam. God, good Lord. You get Josh and Lofty, I believe, for that time slot. Makes it really, really fun to watch. You're going to want to hang out, but I want those likes before they show up. I need that clout. I need it for Ben's confidence level coming into the NCAA tournament.
Mercy, just after the morning I had in the DFS streets. Mercy likes I'm asking for.
Speaking of brackets, we have the bracket, Awesemo bracket contest. Click the link in the video description below. Sign up for a YouTube membership to our channel and play in that. First place in the bracket will receive a full year of Awesemo Plus and premium betting picks. Premium betting picks are great, man. I'm telling you, we got our friend Ben over here firing those up in the chat in the Discord. So you're going to want to sign up for this. Alex Baker, Steve Buzzard, all the leading guys here at Awesemo, providing amazing projections, amazing models that help you identify the best potential ROI situations. Sign up now for this. It's just $15, pays for itself. You hit, if you're playing $50 for a unit like myself, or if it's going to be something that's $500 for a unit, that $15 is pretty negligible when you get access to the best players in the entire industry. So I'm telling you right now, this is the opportunity to jump in. It's just $15. I know it's probably going to go up, but use promo code Let Me See Those Picks. The worst promo code ever, but I love Let Me See Those Picks simply because it gives you those access to the best picks for just $15. Stop guessing, start winning. Join us here at that premium Discord channel. All right, my friend, we head over to my Minnesota Timberwolves, playing some phenomenal basketball here of late. Actually, just favorites going in -4, 241 total here in San Antonio. As a scorned Minnesota Timberwolves fan, it would be easy for me to just take the points with San Antonio and emotional free roll this one, but I'm probably not going to do that. Looking here at some of the props, I think we got some good ones. What sticks out to you, Ben?
Yeah, I think there are some props. I will say this line kind of screams trap to me. I think I would take the points with the Spurs. Minnesota's playing good ball, much stronger at home, though. I could still find 3.5. They're taking a little money on the Spurs side. And the Spurs are a team, constantly I feel like Dejounte Murray is someone that comes up in the prop world. He's for a guy who can obviously contribute in all the peripherals, over 8.5 rebounds tonight at plus 110. It's a common prop around these parts with Odd Chopper, but it consistently proves why it should be. And I think the books haven't valued that. Lonnie Walker's rebounds, not one I would have got to, but if you were looking just by sorting with the best ROI, that's what comes up. But I want to ask you specifically about Towns. It's a center-rich environment on DFS, and the guys will have you covered there. But over 1.5 3-pointers grades out as a potential good spot. What do you see from your Wolves?
I don't really like that one, mainly because Karl Anthony Towns schematically, when you have D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards back in the fray here, Anthony Edwards, just let me double check because he's probable for today. Yeah, definitely probable. That you're going to get Patrick Beverley off the floor here. It's just one of those spots, right? He's been playing a lot more down low of late in the offense when both of those guys are active. There's just not a whole lot of space for him to just sit out on the perimeter. And I would never really want that as it is. 1 for 3, 1 for 5, 0 for 0, 1 for 1, 0 for 4, 1 for 3. Those are his last 6, 2 of those being with the return of Anthony Edwards. So yeah, it's plus money to be hitting the over on that. I just don't really know if it's a spot that I want to be over invested in. He is shooting 40% from 3. So if we can get the attempts, there's an opportunity there. But I think sometimes with some of these 3-point lines, they look a little bit more enticing. I do like the 29% expected win percentage, plus 135, but I think we get a lot of spots that are just ROIs of 32, 35, the Eubanks ones being upper 30s. I think I'd just be a little bit more selective than to try to isolate a guy that is under a little bit new circumstance here, just with all 3 guys back in town.
Yeah, again, I think that's where deciphering exactly what's going on in NBA, this is a longer conversation, not for this show, but, rotations, minutes, things like that. If you understand where the dominoes can fall and how the personnel changes, you can create this value. It's not like other sports because minutes equal production here. So I think with teams like this, your finger's on the pulse, some of these guys can step up. And I don't think the books fully appreciate some of those situations. So this is a good game from that standpoint. Could be competitive. I would take the points with the Spurs.
Yep, I said it'd be like the emotional thing. I'm just going to steer clear of this game because that's good for my health. First time Minnesota's been good at anything in a very long time. Oh, but we gave Kirk Cousins an extension. Yay. Oh my God. Let's go to Milwaukee +1 at Utah 232.5. Oh, it's fine. I'm just going to cry too. Misery loves company, Ben. That's what it is. This is going to be a game that I'm looking forward to watching. The return of Brook Lopez. Anything that sticks out for you in the props or betting streets?
Yeah, so this is an interesting game, competitive game, maybe a preview of finals. I doubt it, but maybe, you never know. And again, when you look, Rudy Gobert's blocks, always a hot topic in the prop world. So you can go there. He is sporting the Q tag. I'm going to look to Donovan Mitchell. His assist prop under 5.5 at plus 116. Again, it's line driven as most of these props are. We have them projected right on the button, but when you're getting plus 116, I think you can look at that one. This is a game and Utah is at home. But, when you look at his assists, somewhat pedestrian. Obviously, he's been around or north of this number in 5 straight, but he's had 6 assists in 3 straight. So I don't think you want to read a ton into that. Again, you're betting plus money. Milwaukee, this I don't think will be a fast-paced game by any stretch. So I'll look there. I don't have a ton to say on the Milwaukee side. You mentioned once again, the return and whatnot. What do you see from the Bucks here, if anything?
Yeah, for the Bucks, first of all, I'm surprised at this line a little bit. I know Utah, they always get a home court advantage, not Denver-esque, but, it's elevation. It's a little bit different, wonky, going into Utah than anywhere else. But I'm okay betting the Utah side just because, it just seems like a trappy thing where you look at it and inherently, I think the public is mostly going to be going towards Milwaukee. At least that's what it looks like. Feels as though this is just like one of those wonky spots where maybe you could get -1 here on Utah, but it is a thin play. This is a game I'm really looking forward to watching, but I don't really have a whole lot of interest. I will say one of the guys that I liked for a different site, I'll just throw out all the other sites that we do content for. Jock Market. One situation to just keep apprised that matters a lot for DFS purposes, for betting purposes, is the status of Zach LaVine coming into this evening. I think he's truly a questionable, and you see a 1.2 to 1.3 DraftKings points per minute rise to both Nikola Vucevic and Demar Derozan. Demar Derozan plays more of the minutes there in that spot in the absence of Zach LaVine. He ends up playing like low 40s minutes in some of these spots. Just outrageous performances that he's put up here of late. I would also be ready to quick react to anything that happened there. I know right now Javonte Green is the number one prop in Odd Chopper, but you got to think about that circumstantially. He might have a little bit more, just slightly more usage going his direction, but he will for sure have more minutes going his direction. I think it's just another stay away in the props situation, unless you can capitalize on the over of DeMar DeRozan points, which are already out of control. Nikola Vucevic, probably the guy to be going to right now. The under is looking better at 19, projected number, 20.5 being the line. I would like the over of that if you got Mr. Zach LaVine out on this one.
That's a really important point, and that's one of the many reasons I recommend people, if you are looking to expand betting, get in the Discord and sign up for the premium, because you have to put context into some of these things. And you just did that accurately with these props, particularly with Javonte Green. I think you need to make sure you know why is it coming up like that, and then make those prudent decisions. I want to ask you real quick on the other side, what about Harrison Barnes, who is rebound and points prop has been identified over 5.5 and what do we got, 16.5 respectively. I don't have a ton to say on the Kings. What do you think about him in general?
Ames High legend, by the way. Don't play pickup basketball with him. He will murder you. It happened once upon a time. Either way, we're looking at this, and I'm okay with it. Harrison Barnes is just going to play a crazy amount of minutes and do Harrison Barnes things. It's just so hard for me. I want to get more of a sample size. Like in DFS, you kind of have to make these stands and decisions for things. When it comes to betting, I don't really know long-term how this is going to be. Sabonis, Fox, Harrison Barnes. He's obviously number 3 in that rotation. Sabonis has been more of the distributor, kind of playing not a point guard role, but De'Aaron Fox has started to take on a little bit more of that of late. Harrison Barnes always feels like he's going to get the minutes allotment, but now he's ceding usage to De'Aaron Fox more and more here in this offense. They're trying to find something that works and clicks. I just feel like I don't really want to invest in these situations that I don't have a strong feel for. 19% expected ROI on that one. I think it's decent. And, I said, if you want to bet 5 or 6 of these plus monies, knowing that you're getting the better end of it, we have them projected for 5.9. If you go 50%, you had a winning day. So I don't completely hate that ad simply because of the number you're getting attached to it.
There you go.
That's all. There's context. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Washington. All right. Washington at Golden State. That is the correct next one on the sheet. Plus 11.5 at Golden State, 225.5. Welcome back, Draymond Green. Good to see you. Nice to be here. Refs probably don't appreciate that he's back, but I appreciate it because I want to see this West really be competitive, and he definitely elevates this Golden State team. But does he open up any value for you from the Golden State side, or does he just give you an opportunity to stay away?
So they're a really healthy favorite here, 11.5 points at home. I don't want to mess around with that. I'm still going to look to Klay Thompson prompts, over 2.5 assists, over 3.5 rebounds, respectively. The minutes are secure north of 30. Guys just doing everything. There is some blowout risk, but not enough where I'm going to alter anything like that. So to me, that checks out, and we'll see exactly what the Warriors are when fully healthy. On the other side, real quick, just to save some time, Kuzma makes some sense, over 6.5 boards. Chad earlier asked about his assist prop. I'm on board with that if you want to go there. Again, another guy that if this game stays, competitive, minutes should be in the mid to even upper 30s potentially. So I don't mind that. Don't know if it's going to stay that close, but I don't really want to lay 11.5 points.
Yeah, I don't either. It's a pretty tough one. Looking at the NBA betting model, I will say there is some value trying to bet a money line there, plus 541. Now, is that going to work out a whole heck of a lot? No, it's absolutely not. But there's an 11% expected ROI. If you make this bet 100 times, you're going to probably be on the winning end of it. It's just simply what's your bankroll? What are you looking to do? Because it's definitely not going to be a super successful one to be firing up time and time again. I'm looking at some of the props here. Kyle Kuzma, 6.5. Okay, like I know Kristaps Porzingis is there, but doesn't he play alongside 48 bigs already in that rotation? And as good as Kristaps Porzingis is offensively, I mean, he's had Daniel Gafford on the floor next to him for a lot of minutes this season. He's had Thomas Bryant on the floor next to him a lot this season. We've had Rui Hachimura playing lots of minutes alongside of him this season. All three of those guys are basically out there to play defense and basically rebound a basketball. So as good as Porzingis is, I don't know why that Vegas is looking at this as like a 6.5 number for Kyle Kuzma, when you're basically looking at a dude who's had a ridiculous rebound rate, averages 8.6 on the season. Now, Porzingis out there for a lot of minutes. He's a 7'4" human being. Yes, more rebounds are going to go his direction, but they're going to stagger it a little bit more going forward here. I have no problem just smashing. This is probably one of my favorites on the board. Odd Shoppers identified it here. 30% expected ROI, 70% expected win percentage. Are you with me, Ben? 6.5 rebounds for Kyle Kuzma.
I am. Yeah. I think, again, you got to talk through it. It checks all the boxes. The line is right. And that's kind of the process that I go through and that we go through each and every day here on this show. And then in our premium section is, okay, the algorithm likes it. It makes sense. Everything checks. And then you kind of put it on the card. And if the line is the correct number over time, you're going to create a lot of value for yourself.
All right. We have the last game. Last game.
Yes,
1 minute to go. Perfect. Toronto -5 at Los Angeles 225. We are all on high alert. LeBron James on a back-to-back after they got spanked in Phoenix. That was an absolute beatdown. That happens to the Lakers a lot because they suck at basketball. Ben, what do you see from our last game of the evening?
Yeah. When you give up 140 points, it's very difficult to hang in, and I see nothing because you really need to be ready to react. But when you have a domino this big, it's impossible to take positions in my mind just because we don't know what we're going to get. If LeBron happens to sit, it changes the entire landscape of everything that we're talking about. The advantage you have in betting over DFS, you don't have to make a wager. You can't omit the game. In betting, you can be selective. So right now, 0 props from this game currently on my card. When the news trickles out, I will go to Odd Shopper and react accordingly.
I will just try to bet Toronto with every dollar I have in my account. I will try to just fire that off in the event that there's no LeBron James, because then there is no hope for this basketball team. He is it. I believe it was Josh Engleman, our friend, that ended up posting something earlier today, where Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the only guys with positive PERs from this entire team, this entire season. That is very difficult to do. Congratulations, Lakers, on ensembling an absolute dumpster fire. That is the Locks Before Locks show. Appreciate you guys all hanging out. Smash that like button as we get into the deeper dive. My friend Ben, thank you for pushing through today in your sadness. I just appreciate you so much. Any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, again, stay tuned for the DFS side. They will have you covered, all these questions that you guys want answered. And again, if you have any questions on the betting side, hop on into our Discord, from PGA to NBA to college basketball. Go check out that show on the Odd Shopper channel, me and Matt Kajeski. Enjoy, good luck, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, Jordan Klein. He's got new bar chairs. Thank you, Ben Rasa. You have nothing new because you're poor now. I'm Eric Lindquist. We'll see you guys later.
like the vibe. New beats from Jordan Klein, who I'll quickly do the intro. I know that he very desperately has to go to the bathroom, so I'll make sure to get this out of the way so that he could leave us for a brief period of time. Show is sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. I'm joined here by Adam, who is coming back from the DraftKings live final. Had a pretty good showing, came in 24th. Show us some love, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I hope you guys all had a great weekend. Adam, how was your experience at the live final?
It was good. It's always fun. Frustrating not to win, but at least didn't. At least I got paid while I was there. Like, the worst is if you come in the bottom like 20% and you already got credited your money when you qualified, and you just are there and you're miserable and not getting any money. So at least got some money, had a good time. No real complaints other than that I didn't make more money.
Yeah, and a little extra money in your pocket, 24th, nothing to sneeze at. And hopefully we could add a little bit more money to everybody's fantasy accounts tonight. DraftKings, Fanduel, we've got a pretty good slate tonight. 9 games and also a lot of injury news, starting with what's probably going to be the most important game on the slate from a DFS perspective. Los Angeles Clippers on the road against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Here's the injury report today for the Clippers. As per usual, there's no Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Marcus Morris resting. Robert Covington out because of a personal issue. Reggie Jackson also out today. There is a very, very limited amount of players now that we're looking at that are normally in the Clippers rotation. Who are the top value options, though, Adam?
I think that so I think you can pretty much make a case for any of the normal rotation players that are still available, but I think the top value for me is Amir Coffey at 3,700. He's been starting for the Clippers. He's been playing really big minutes anyway. And one of the things I like about Coffey is that if this game gets out of hand, not saying that it will. I mean, it's only a 7 or an 8 point spread, so it's not like it's the most likely outcome, but it certainly could. But if this game does get out of hand, I think Coffey's just playing garbage time anyway. Like, I don't think that they have enough guys that they would play ahead of him. So I feel pretty comfortable with his minutes. Kind of similarly, I feel comfortable with Terrence Mann's minutes. I feel pretty comfortable with Luke Kennard's minutes, but they're a little bit more expensive. So I think the top value guy for me is Coffey. I think Mann and Kennard are my next two. Actually, Mann, Kennard, and Boston are my next favorite guys. If this game's competitive, I think it's likely you're getting 24 to 26 minutes from Boston. If this game gets out of hand early, then he probably plays more, and he's 3K flat. So like, one way or the other, he looks good, but certainly someone that I think would actually look a little bit better if this game blows out. Where I'm most concerned and don't have the most confidence is with Nick Batum, because he's 4,700, so it's not like he's expensive. He's not super cheap. I'm kind of scared about his playing time because you have the Clippers just, resting Reggie Jackson, essentially resting Marcus Morris. And then you have Nick Batum, who they always seem to find reasons not to give a lot of minutes to. It's not like it would be shocking if the game's competitive and Batum plays 36 minutes and has a good game, but this just doesn't strike me as a game that they are particularly concerned with winning. So I'm a little concerned about Batum's playing time, at least compared to guys like Kennard, Mann, Coffey.
Yeah, that totally follows with me. And for what it's worth, I gave Nick Batum 30 minutes, which makes him playable, but also doesn't make him look anywhere near the top player from the Clippers today. And I still think 30 minutes is a pretty healthy allocation of playing time for him. And that still isn't something that's going to get him to being a guy who's in 20+% of my lineups. And I know the free content today is our player rankings, but I'm still going to give you guys out some of the ownership here just because I think it's so pertinent for this slate. The top 4 projected owned players are all from the Clippers today. Amir Coffey 1, Terrence Mann 2, Brandon Boston 3, Luke Kennard 4. That's over on DraftKings. Then over on Fanduel, we've got Drew Eubanks projected as the most owned player, but second is Coffey. Third is actually Batum. Fourth, Luke Kennard. And then we also have Brandon Boston, Terrence Mann near the top of that as well. So there's going to be a lot of chalk on this team. I'm personally finding a chalk that I'm just going to get to, but relative to some of these players who are, being owned at 30 to 40%, do you think that they're over-owned, under-owned, or appropriately owned?
I think they're pretty much appropriately owned. I think it's one of those situations where, at least right now, we don't have a ton of cheap value coming from other teams. So even though it is a relatively difficult matchup against Cleveland, even though for the most part these aren't the best point per minute guys, it's not like Terrence Mann is terrible on a point per minute basis, and neither is Luke Kennard. Coffey's fine, Boston's fine. So I think that given what else you're getting into your lineups and the fact that they do only have 9 players, so there's only so many ways the guys can lose minutes. Like, they're going to play for whatever 48 times for 240 minutes today. There's only 9 guys to do it. One of them is an old Rodney Hood, or at least an always hurt Rodney Hood. One of them is Nick Batum. So there's so many minutes and such cheap price tags. I think the ownership makes sense, even though they're not the most confidence inspiring names.
Yeah. And there we go. Right off the bat, first team we talk about, the most important pressing team on the entire slate. That's where all the value is coming from. That's going to let us pay up for some of the stars. On the other side of the game, this is a favorable matchup for the Cavs, considering how shorthanded the Clippers are. But at least as of now, it's a little hard to know what to make of them because Lauri Markkanen is questionable. Caris LeVert is questionable. Dean Wade is also questionable. So if Markkanen's out, we've seen times where Wade has started and played a whole bunch of minutes. But if there is no Markkanen and there is no Dean Wade in the addition of the absence of potentially Caris LeVert, is there anybody that you see really picking up a whole bunch of extra playing time in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, this one's tough. Like, if Markkanen is out and if Wade is out, I assume Kevin Love's playing more minutes. I've assumed that in past cases, and it hasn't happened, but it would be difficult to see how he doesn't get more minutes if both of those guys are out, along with Jared Allen. 6,600 for Love is a price tag where I do want to feel somewhat confident that he's playing more than like 20 to 22 minutes. But if you get one of those guys out, particularly if it's Lauri Markkanen, I think that you do see Love get a bit more playing time. I think he's the one that's probably the biggest impact. If LeVert is out, you're talking about a bump in rates for Garland, maybe some more playing time for Chetty, but I think Love is the one that'll be most impacted if the front court guys miss.
And for what it's worth, Love did start last game. He played 34 minutes. The production left us to be a little bit wanting, mostly because he weirdly only had a 13% usage rate. But I think we can draw some confidence away from the fact that he played 34 minutes when he started last game. So if he starts again, it makes me feel pretty good projecting this. I'm not going to give him 34 because I think getting yourself to a ton of Kevin Love at this point in the season it's proven to be playing with danger because those minutes could be all over the place. Who else on this team would potentially stand out to you? I personally kind of find it to be a lot of fair pricing, even if these guys are out, with the absence of other than Kevin Love potentially having upside.
Yeah, I would have interest in Garland. I think 9K is still a pretty fair price tag for him, but especially if Caris LeVert is out, because we've just seen such a nice bump in usage for him and assist percentage when he's played without Sexton, LeVert, or Rubio this year. Around a 28.5% usage rate, assist percentage is at 43%. So I do like the ceiling he offers. I think it's also worth noting that like the ideal situation, I think, for Garland would be LeVert out and Markkanen Wade in, keeping Kevin Love out of the starting lineup, because we do know that Love's a very high usage guy and will most likely cut into Garland's rates. Whereas if Love's coming off the bench, that is good for him. And similarly, Evan Mobley, the ideal situation for him is also Kevin Love coming off the bench, because Love rebounds at a higher rate than Dean Wade and Lauri Markkanen. So that is something to keep in mind if you're looking to Garland, looking to Mobley. Love coming off the bench, not that him starting would make them unplayable, but it is likely to be a downgrade for them if he starts.
Any other talking points for you on this game on either side, Clippers or Cavs?
I don't. Oh, so I mean, on the Clipper side, I guess I forgot to mention it. I mentioned him in both of my tournament videos, but you do have a pretty cheap Isaiah Hartenstein here at 4,900 on DraftKings, $4,800 power forward on FanDuel. I don't think that the Clippers being shorthanded has a huge impact here, because I don't anticipate that they play Zubac and Hartenstein alongside each other. They haven't yet this year. But what it does is it at least lowers the chances that you get a small lineup where neither of those guys is in. So it pretty much locks them into 48 combined minutes. And we know if Zubac is in foul trouble or Hartenstein's playing well, he can get 22, 23 minutes. He's well over a fantasy point per minute guy. So he is kind of an interesting piece in tournaments.
Let's move on to the next game. And some of these Portland Trailblazers games have been really difficult to nail down as of late, mostly because the team is so wildly uncompetitive in some of these spots because of the amount of injuries they have. Justice Winslow, Eric Bledsoe, Yusuf Nurkic, Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons are all out. As a result, we saw a massive, massive fantasy game from Josh Hart last time out, but his minutes were so limited in some other games because the games were so one-sided. And this has potential to be another one of those spots, and they're just not going to risk it with Josh Hart if the game isn't competitive, which is what makes, to me, so difficult to project his minutes and his overall production. Because you just look at the last few games. The last game stays competitive. He scores 72 and a half fantasy points. The games before that, he played 26, 28, and 23 minutes. So this is a team with Josh Hart that seems to be pretty sensitive to blowout risk. I know that Josh Hart's become really expensive over on DraftKings, but at least on Fanduel, he does remain pretty reasonably priced at 6,500. So I want to start by asking you about him, Adam. With Josh Hart being 6,500 on Fanduel, what do you make of him? And do you think the DK price is still playable?
I got distracted for a second because somebody in chat was asking if like half of the regs in the industry are the same person. No, they're not. But as far as Josh Hart goes on FanDuel, that's a great price tag because the thing with Hart is in any game where the Blazers are competitive, for one, Josh Hart probably had a lot to do with it. And for two, he's going to be getting tons and tons of opportunities without Simons and obviously without Lillard and Nurkic. The issue with Hart is that the Blazers suck and they're not going to be in a lot of games. And while they are missing a lot of players, they're not shorthanded in the sense that Josh Hart has to play a bunch of minutes in a blowout. So that's the risk on Hart. When you get him at 6,500 on FanDuel, obviously that probably comes with more ownership as well, but the risk is mitigated somewhat because you're still going to get 3/4 of Hart kind of no matter how the game goes. And he can beat 6,500 even in a game where the Blazers get blown out because all of his teammates are G League players. On DraftKings at 8,800, he still has upside there. I mean, you have to go back one game to see what he can do given all of these opportunities, but you really can't expect him to go out there and have anywhere close to what he did against the Wizards. And you also just have a lot more chance of a blowout for the Blazers. So I think it's kind of very different between the two sites. Hart on DraftKings, I think, is extremely difficult to get to. On FanDuel, I think it's a very favorable price tag.
And there's a couple of other guys that are really different too, because Drew Eubanks is 5,600 on DraftKings, but he's the most popular player on the FanDuel slate right now in our ownership projections because he's only 4,300 with power forward and center eligibility. And same goes for Brandon Williams, who's priced up to $6,500 on DraftKings, but FanDuel, he remains just 5K. What do you make of the rest of the guys on Portland? Because on one hand, we've seen people flock to roster Brandon Williams a bunch as of late, and I have no clue if he's any good or not. I tend to think he's a replacement level player, but somebody has to take shots and score for this team. It hasn't been Brandon Williams in the last couple of games, but it doesn't mean it can't be him going forward. So what do you make of the other role players here?
Yeah, the Williams piece is interesting because, limited sample this year, he's been a pretty good point per minute guy, but then as we've seen him pushed into a bigger role, you've seen that drop off. I do think that his price tag still at least offers some upside. He's coming in at 6,500 on DraftKings. To me, that doesn't stand out as a core play or an elite play or anything, but it's, I think, a more favorable price tag than most other pieces on Portland. Same can be said for Drew Eubanks, who in his starts with the Blazers, he's averaging 26 minutes per game. He's averaging 0.86 DraftKings points per minute. If he plays 26 minutes, he's probably not going to do a whole lot at 5,600 to make you happy you rostered him as a center only player. But if this game is competitive and you do get 30 to 32 minutes from Eubanks, he certainly can have a big game. So Williams and Eubanks, I think, are worth looking at in tournaments, not guys that I love or anything, but I think they'll be a little bit easier to get to than Josh Hart. You could say similar about Trendon Watford, but the issue with Watford is that he's $1,200 or $1,100 more expensive than Eubanks.
Let's move to the other side of the game now where we have injury situations here as well. Danilo Galinari, he is out. John Collins also out. Did you see the picture of his finger on Twitter?
Yeah, that was pretty disgusting.
Yeah, he's got one finger the size of a baseball, which is the reason he's out. I know they've listed it as a finger and a foot injury on the injury report. Looks more like a finger injury to me, just based on the evidence I've seen. That aside, he is not playing today. What do we make of the front court situation here? You and I talked about this on the NBA injury report earlier, and because of the discussion we had, I gave a couple extra minutes to both Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu. As you noted before, these two have not played a whole bunch of minutes together this season, but there's also a lot of players out for the Hawks now in that, well, not a lot in general, but no John Collins, no Gallinari, and then also they had Cam Reddish to go to earlier in the year. Do you think we're going to see some minutes with Capella and Okongwu together tonight?
It wouldn't shock me. They still don't have to. They can put Kevin Knox in the rotation. They can put Luau Cabarrot into the rotation, but you're still missing a lot of minutes without Collins and without Gallinari. So I think that the primary power forward tonight is going to be DeAndre Hunter. I don't really have any doubts about that. I think that you see at least some combination of Knox and TLC out there. But with Capella and Okongwu as cheap as they are, you really don't need that many extra minutes. Like even if they go from 48 minutes to like 50 to 52, it's going to make them both look like decent values because you're talking about, 28 to 30 minutes for Capella and then 20 to 22 from Okongwu if that's the case. So it would make them both look pretty good. I still don't want to play them in the same lineup just because I think that, obviously the path to one of them having a true massive game is that the other one plays less minutes and they just dominate the center minutes. But I do think that individually they both look pretty good, given that at the very least I expect them to play 48 minutes combined. You don't have the risk of Collins or Gallinari closing at the 5, and there is some chance you get a few extra minutes. So in the kind of dummy crunch I did before the show, I got to like 28% of Kongwu, I got to 27% Capella, but they were all in separate lineups. So you're talking about like 50% total exposure to those two.
And then as for the rest of this team, is there anybody else you really see benefiting with the absence of Gallo and John Collins? Because it looks like there's potential for guys like Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdanovich. All of them are live to get more minutes, but relative to their salaries, who stands out the most?
Yeah, I mean, Bogdanovich and Huerter, I think, and Hunter, I think, play a little bit more. I'm expecting Bogdanovich to move into the starting lineup, although they certainly could go with the TLC spot start like they've done in the past. DeAndre Hunter playing at the 4 should be a little bit more productive than normal. 4,600 is a very reasonable price tag there. But the guy that really stands out, in addition to the centers, is Trae Young, because not only is it a good matchup against Portland, but you get a usage rate bump without John Collins. His per minute production goes up without John Collins. So Young is the top guy for me, along with the two centers.
And then what do you make of Trae Young? Is he a strong pay-up option, in your opinion, relative to the other players we have to roster on the slate? Don't forget that we do have guys, and obviously I'm not saying this to you, but to the audience in general, we have Giannis on the slate, we have Jokic, we have Embiid, a lot of pay-up options. Where does Trae Young fit in the mix of all those stars?
He's pretty high on the list for me. I think that ownership should play a pretty big role here, just because there are a lot of comparable players. Like you said, you have that really strong top tier, but there's also a very strong like 10 to 11K mid range or upper mid range. But right now we have Trae Young projected for 17% ownership. You compare that to somebody like DeJounte Murray's at 15%. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's at 13%. I kind of think that's how it should come in. Like, I think that Young is slightly ahead of the other two just because he's a little bit cheaper. And then you have Murray and Gilgeous-Alexander. But I think you should pay a lot of attention to those ownership levels because they are similar. So if you do start to get one pulling away from the rest, I would want to play the other two a little bit more.
All right, let's go to my favorite real life game to watch for this slate. Denver Nuggets, Philadelphia 76ers, Jokic versus Embiid. And I think we have to start, instead of going these teams individually, a lot of people are going to be making the decision whether to pay up for Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid at center today. With them going against each other, it's going to be something that impacts a lot of DFS lineups. If you can only roster one of these studs today, Adam, are you going with Jokic or are you going with Joel Embiid?
If I can only roster one, I would try and get to Jokic. I mean, there's a $600 price difference, I think. So it's not the end of the world if you get to Embiid. He's obviously very, very good as well. But, Jokic just doesn't have to deal with James Harden as a teammate, basically. And so I think you get, a little bit higher ceiling, or at least a little bit higher chance of getting there. That being said, I do have trouble kind of just getting to either guy today for a couple of reasons. And this isn't to talk anyone off of rostering Embiid or Jokic, because they're obviously very, very good. But the center position is pretty deep in terms of value and also just mid-range plays that have pretty high ceilings. And then you also have guys, that 10 to 11K range that I was talking about before, that, guys that look very, very good and that I want to get to, and that you can save some money. And then on top of that, there is value today, but, outside of the Clippers, there's not that much of it. It's kind of the Clippers guys, Okongwu, if you agree that he looks like a good value. And other than that, there's not a ton that you're going to feel good about. So I do think that they're difficult to get to, but obviously they're a couple of the highest projected players on the slate. So if things open up, they're good. Like I'm not looking at it, like, oh, I'm not going to play Jokic because he's facing Embiid or something like that. It's just that it's difficult to get them in the lineups.
One thing that is not looking like it's going to open up value from the Cleveland Cavaliers. Karis LeVert will play. Lauri Markkanen will play. Dean Wade is out, but that's not really all that significant once Markkanen and LeVert are in. So assuming that Kevin Love comes off the bench, would you agree this probably takes him off the table?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would really see from Cleveland is, I think you could take shots at Garland, you could take shots at Mobley, but neither of those guys are going to look like priorities.
All right, getting back to this game, Denver and Philadelphia. One thing we do have on Denver's injury report, Aaron Gordon is listed as questionable. Given the value we have on a team like the Clippers, I don't see enough pertinent value opening up if Gordon is out for me to really want to get to anybody. Do you feel any differently than that statement?
Sorry, I had the wrong page open. But no, I don't. I mean, it's pretty much Jokic and then nothing.
Yeah, and talking about the Philadelphia side of this game now, I love this game from a real life perspective. And if I have the ability to pay up for Jokic, which I'm probably going to try to prioritize, or get to Joel Embiid, that's all well and good. I don't really see a whole lot else that looks appealing in this game. There was an outside chance that James Harden and or Embiid would rest today, just because we saw a statement from Doc Rivers and the Philadelphia 76ers a couple of days ago. They have a rest plan in place to try to get these guys days off in back-to-back situations. So yesterday they play against Orlando, and I thought, oh, well, for sure they're going to give Embiid or Harden that game off. They don't. The game goes to overtime, and now neither of them are listed on the injury report. It tends to just make me believe that there's no real risk of these guys getting rested. And then as a result, we just have a healthy Philly team. Nothing really looks appealing to me outside of taking some shots at Harden, taking some shots at Joel Embiid. How do you feel about the rest of this team?
Not very good. Kind of similar to the Denver side. I mean, you're never going to be upset about getting to Embiid or Harden in tournaments, but beyond that, it's not like Maxi's inexpensive. Tobias Harris is still sitting at 6,900. You have a 9-game slate, so there's plenty of good plays. This is just one of those games that I think is going to be a great basketball game to watch, but pretty unappealing as far as prioritizing guys in DFS.
We have a super chat here from Teddy Wayman. He's saying, thoughts on Donovan Mitchell on FanDuel today? Bogdanovich might not play. So over on FanDuel, we have Donovan Mitchell priced at 8,200, also going to be fairly popular, 20% owned. I think that he actually might even be a little bit under-owned. 20% is very low for Donovan Mitchell when he's at 8,200. Also a matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks where we could see extra minutes to him. What do you make of Mitchell? Because 8,200, I do think that's a drastic misprice.
Yeah, I think it's a very good price tag. The one thing to keep in mind is that FanDuel's pricing is just kind of soft today in general. Like I completely agree, 8,200 is a mispricing on Mitchell, but you have that $6,500 Josh Hart, you have Darius Garland at 8,500. There's other pieces as well. So relatively, there are still some other really good plays, but I do think he's pretty clearly underpriced, and I don't think Bogdanovich really has a ton, changes a ton. Like, you can tell me Bogdanovich is in, and I still think Mitchell's drastically underpriced.
If Bogdanovich is out, it's going to impact Jazz players, but Mitchell isn't really one of them. There's other guys that stand to gain extra playing time. This doesn't substantially change Mitchell's role. The bigger point here, though, 8,200 is a very good price tag for him on FanDuel, so I like getting to him for that reason. Thank you for the super chat, Teddy. Next game here to talk about, Charlotte Hornets on the road against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Another game that's somewhat one-sided on paper, although it doesn't seem like there's that much blowout risk just because the spread is only listed at 7.5 right now. From the Charlotte side, I think there's reason to get to LaMelo Ball, particularly if we don't get an influx of extra value and we're looking for some secondary star options. But across the board, the pricing here does look pretty favorable. I mean, pretty reasonable. And I think everybody's kind of fair. Do you see it any differently?
No, I think that, I think it looks like a good team to get to in tournaments, but I don't see like one individual guy that stands out.
Yeah, that's how I feel exactly. If I had to roster one guy, and I know that he's the most expensive player on the team, so it's going to seem like a cop-out answer, but if I had to roster one guy, even from a points per dollar perspective, it would be LaMelo. He's the guy I ultimately see myself getting the most exposure to. There's also been a lot of slates where we've seen LaMelo a little bit cheaper on FanDuel than he is on DK. Same situation again here where he's only priced at 8,200. But like you said before, there's a lot of players that are underpriced on FanDuel, and it's a pretty soft slate they have over there. So is there anybody that you would think you're going to get to, say, more than like 10 to 15% of lineups from Charlotte?
Yeah, so the one thing I would say that I think I may end up doing a little bit differently, at least just based on the crunch I did before the show. I agree with you, LaMelo is the top guy for me, but in terms of where we actually need players to fill roster spots on this slate, I think Bridges and Washington might be a little bit easier to get to. So like in the crunch I did before the show, I had between like 12 and 20% on Washington, Bridges, and Ball, but it was in that order. And I'll preface it by saying I am not confident in PJ Washington at all. He's been playing a lot of minutes in general lately, but we did get McDaniels back last game, and that potentially can cut into Washington's minutes. His point per minute production also takes a huge hit when he's not playing center, and with Plumlee and Harrell there, he's not playing center. So both of those things are problems, but he is also facing OKC. He is 5,100, and right now you just don't have a lot of good forward plays. So he's showing up a bit for me, and then Miles Bridges, kind of the same thing. I think 7,800 is a pretty fair price tag, and like I said before, like relative to salary, I think Bridges looks similar similar to Washington, looks similar to Rozier, looks similar to Ball, but there's just more use in my lineups for forwards in that range. But yeah, I mean, I like LaMelo as well. I like Terry Rozier as well. It's just I have more trouble filling out forward spots than guard spots.
And on the other side of the game, the Oklahoma City Thunder, as per usual, the second half of the season, they've got a pretty lengthy injury report. Josh Giddey, Lou Dort, Derek Favors, Mike Muscala, Kenrich Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Ty Jerome, Jeremiah Robinson are all out for this game. Now, we saw Theo Maledon start last game, and he didn't produce great results. He didn't play a whole ton of minutes, but he also didn't make his shots from the field. I tend to think that if Maledon was a little more efficient, he probably could have got himself some more playing time. $3,800 over on Fanduel without picking up all that much ownership. DraftKings still kind of popular at 22%. But do you see there being reason to try to get to Maledon as a pivot off of some of the Clippers guys, just given that he started last game and there are a bunch of guys out for OKC?
Yeah, if he starts again, I do think he looks pretty good here. I mean, it's a good matchup against Charlotte. He played like 25, 26 minutes, but like you were saying, if he plays well, he can certainly play more. You still don't have Wiggins. You still don't have Williams and Jerome. So at 3,500, I don't mind getting to Maledon. The one issue or one concern I would have, well, outside of the fact that it's Theo Maledon in general, but he is the kind of guy where like putting him in the lineup alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you're going to get a lot of possessions, I think, where Theo Maledon is not doing anything that comes remotely close to producing a fantasy point. So that's, a bit of a concern, but still cheap, still likely to play enough minutes to be a pretty good value.
And then as for other guys on OKC, I do think that there are players that have some upside here. Trey Mann, he probably stands to gain extra minutes with a bunch of these guys out. Same goes for Darius Bazley. SGA has been a really good pay-up option. None of them are priority plays, though. These are just guys that I think I'm going to mix into a handful of lineups. How do you view the rest of the players on the Thunder?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I see it as well. SGA is obviously a monster. He's in a good spot. He's got around a 35% usage rate, 34 to 35% assist percentage. Without Josh Giddey, he's averaging around a fantasy point and a half per minute. The only reason I wouldn't get more exposure to him is just that, for one, like I said, I think Trae Young looks a little bit better in his spot without Collins, but also there's just so many guys to choose from. I don't really want to just be saying, oh, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins the slate and, not playing those other guys. But he looks really good. I think Bazley's interesting. The concern I have is just, kind of the same thing we've seen with OKC for a while now. The playing time can be so hit or miss. Last game you got 38 minutes from Bazley, but Roby didn't play a lot. You got a lot of center minutes from Bazley there. There was no real reason foul-wise or anything that Roby didn't play. So certainly you could get the same thing, but you could also get the game where Roby plays 32 minutes and Bazley plays 28. So I do think that it makes Roby kind of interesting in tournaments as well. But I like both of those guys at their respective price points. We talked about Maledon. Lindy Waters at 3,400 could certainly get into the mid-20s again. Not a great point per minute fantasy producer, but certainly somebody you could use if you need lower ownership in a lineup.
Today's show is sponsored by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. If you guys have not signed up for Yahoo, you can do it using the link in the description box below. If you head on over to Yahoo, make a deposit and enter a contest through that link, get yourself 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Get access to all of the tools we have behind the paywall, like our NBA player projections or NBA ownership projections. You also get access to all the tools we have for basically every single other DFS sport out there. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. All right, the next game here to talk about Minnesota, I almost called them Minnesota Twins, Minnesota Timberwolves on the road against the San Antonio Spurs, and a fairly lengthy injury report for Minnesota. A lot of these guys that are on the injury report have ended up playing in recent games, but we do have Jared Vanderbilt officially out. Jordan McLaughlin is questionable. Naz Reid is questionable. Patrick Beverley is questionable. I want to ask you about the front court first, because with Vanderbilt out and Naz Reid questionable, is there a value play you could potentially see stepping up and playing extended minutes?
Maybe Taurean Prince at 3,600. The obvious answer is Jaden McDaniel stepping up in place of Vanderbilt, but his salary's adjusted. He's up to 4,900. He's not a great point per minute guy. It's just a price tag where it's pretty difficult to look at it and say like, oh, there's a decent chance McDaniels does something I need to have at that price. And there is a very good chance that he does not do anything remotely close to what you want at that price. But if you take out Reed, like I don't even necessarily know how much Prince would benefit if Reed is out, since typically Reed is just backing up Towns. But maybe you get a little bit more run, and there's also just ways for Prince to get more minutes at 3,600. If anybody basically I think gets in foul trouble, but particularly like Edwards, or Russell, you'd probably just have guys move up a position and Prince plays a little bit more. If McDaniels gets in foul trouble, certainly I think Prince plays more. So 3,600 for Prince. I don't think he needs much to go right. Like he doesn't need to get that lucky to get enough minutes to be a good play. That's the spot where I think you could kind of throw a dart, but I don't really see much else as far as like underpriced front court guys.
I'm getting way too many NFL notifications sent to my phone. I keep thinking it's relevant basketball stuff that signs up. It's like, oh, look, this offensive lineman signed a 3-year contract extension that I've never heard of before with the Steelers or the Commanders, which is equally confusing to me now. I'm going to have to change the alerts on my phone after this. On the other side, or actually, let's still stick on Minnesota for a second. In terms of the big three, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell, I can't prioritize any of them today. We've got this situation where there's a bunch of pay up guys. There isn't that much value outside of the Clippers situation. I don't view any of Towns, Edwards, or Russell as great plays. And we still also have the knee, which has kind of been bothering Edwards for the last month or so. Are you going to be getting to any of these guys with regularity?
No, I think it's pretty tough for the reasons you were saying. They all, those three in particular, I think look pretty good just in the sense that they're a little bit underpriced. It's a game that's likely to be high scoring, but it's really difficult to point to one and say, oh, I think this guy's, a great play on this slate. If you're getting to some D'Angelo Russell, if you're getting to some Karl Anthony Towns, I think that's fine. Russell, I think, is probably the one I get to first, just, looking through my exposures, but there's none of them that I expect to have a lot of. If Beverly plays at 5,100, I do think that's a pretty decent value. Like he'd be likely to give you 28 minutes or so if he's healthy.
I feel like we should be getting this game just because the total is 241 and a half points, but my projections don't say we should be getting to this game a ton. And the same goes for the Spurs side of the game where the total is massively high. We've got DeJounte Murray, Jakob Poeltl, and Keldon Johnson all returning to the Spurs after all of them rested in their last game. We still have Romeo Langford out. Doug McDermott's out. He got injured last game. Devontae Kaycock is out. Keita Bates-Diop is out. I don't think these guys have all that much significance, though, because Pop plays such deep rotations that it's hard for me to say, oh, look, we're going to get a bunch of Lonnie Walker and Josh Richardson because these role players are out. That and these guys have gotten priced up a little bit because of the missing players for the Spurs last game. So how are you going to be approaching this team? Because it is a game with a really high total, and I'm not sure I'm going to get to anything outside of some DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, I mean, it's a game I like in tournaments just to like grab a player or two because medium projections aren't really going to get you onto this game, like you were saying, but there's still a very good chance that one or two guys just have massive games, well above expectation. And because medium projections aren't going to get you there, it will keep the ownership in check. DeJounte Murray is the guy that clearly stands out, but I am getting to some Lonnie Walker. I'm getting to some Devin Vassell. It's just that, again, kind of with the exception of Murray, there's not one guy that I'm pointing to and saying like, oh yeah, this is definitely the guy. It's more so, all right, I have, this lineup that has a bunch of core pieces in it, a bunch of popular guys that look really good and underpriced. And now I need a low owned guy that's in a good spot. And then you kind of just start filling in with whoever fits, whether it's Poeltl or Walker or Vassell, like, kind of what you need. And that's how I view the Minnesota side as well, with Towns and Edwards and Russell.
We just got the starting lineup for the Los Angeles Clippers, and this was an alert that did matter for tonight's slate. Mann, Coffey, Kennard, Batum, Zubac. There is no surprises in that lineup for me. Does this change any of your opinions on any of the Clippers guys we talked about earlier?
No, that was what I thought the lineup would be.
Cool. So I think that is all good for us right here. We do have a super chat from Nelson Resto, who said, how about Thomas as a low-cost point guard for the Charlotte Hornets? No, I think that's the easiest way to answer it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
he
played 16 minutes last game because he got garbage run over LaMelo. I mean, you're talking typically about like 12 to 14 minutes or something.
There's a chance he isn't in the rotation today also.
Also, yeah. I've been surprised that he keeps being in the rotation.
Yeah, he's not good at this point in his career. From a fantasy perspective, I'm sure if somebody stuck him in a starting lineup and he played 30 minutes, he'd be able to produce fantasy points. It's just a no for me. He's cheap, but that's all he's going for him. I think he's more likely to play 0 minutes today than he is to score a relevant amount of fantasy points. Would you say that's probably a fair breakdown?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, now that we said that, probably not. But if it hadn't been said, I think I'd agree.
Any other talking points from you for this expected to be really high scoring Spurs Timberwolves game?
No, just, again, kind of from a more macro standpoint, games like this where medium projections aren't typically going to get you there. They're not getting the field there either. So it can be a good game to target just grab a guy here and there, but it's just really difficult, again, outside of DeJounte Murray to pinpoint one guy that you're confident that you're really going to get a lot of.
Next game, Chicago Bulls on the road against the Sacramento Kings. Another game, really, really high total, 235 points. Second highest total on the game behind the game we just talked about, Minnesota at San Antonio. Also injury news here for the Chicago Bulls. Zach LaVine is questionable. Something else that I think is a relevant talking point. Alex Caruso is back. What do you think we could start to see from a minutes standpoint? Because if he starts to approach 30 minutes, particularly if Zach LaVine is out, I think he's a pretty good looking value option against Sacramento.
Yeah, I think he is too. And he got to about 29 minutes off the bench against Cleveland last game. Finished at 29 minutes and 12 seconds. So that was good to see. Closed both halves, even though he didn't start. Kobe White got the start. So if LaVine is out, I'm very interested in Caruso at 4,200. Similarly, I think that Vucevic is a good play one way or the other. It's a good spot for him. $8,500 is just too cheap, even if LaVine is in. But if you take LaVine out, you're talking about 1.3 DraftKings points per minute for Vooch. I think he would look fantastic. DeRozan's at a price point where, it is a really good matchup. He's another guy where, from a medium projection standpoint, he doesn't pop up. So it's kind of just, here and there, if you need to save ownership at a spot, you can go to him. But if LaVine's out, you do get a bump in usage. He would look a bit better. Desumnu would look a little bit better, and so would Kobe White. So I think that really it's one or the other. I like Vooch. I just like him more if LaVine is out. For DeRozan, Desumnu, Caruso, White, I think that all of those guys look better if Vooch is out. I think that they're all pretty tough to get to, maybe with the exception of Caruso, if LaVine is in.
I think you summed that up pretty well. There's not too much else to talk about from the Bulls side of the game. We're just going to need that news on Zach LaVine. Anything else you want to mention from Chicago?
Nope.
All right, let's move on to Sacramento and another team with guys on. Almost every team has a couple of guys listed as questionable today. Justin Holiday, he's listed as questionable. We also have Alex Len listed as questionable. Len means pretty much nothing, but the Justin Holiday news could be important because he's a guy who's regularly been playing high 20s minutes for the Kings. If he's out, I think there's some minutes to go around on the wing here for Sacramento. Is there anybody you would view as a good value play if Justin Holiday is not available to play?
Yeah, which sounds weird because, Justin Holiday doesn't really do a whole lot, but you're just talking about minutes opening up and you have some cheap pieces here. In addition, we got Jeremy Lamb ruled out partway through the day. So I had said this morning that if you got Holiday ruled out, I thought that it would be a situation where that cluster of guys like DiVincenzo, Mitchell, and Lamb play more minutes. Now you don't have Lamb either. So I think it would just look better really for DiVincenzo and Mitchell in particular. DiVincenzo started the second half last game. He's 4,500 shooting guard, small forward eligible on DraftKings. If he were to get a start in place of Holiday, he looks like a pretty good value. And if Holiday's out, it does just make it more likely that you get enough minutes from Davion Mitchell for him to be a good value too. So I like both of those guys if Holiday's out. And I think it's worth mentioning that if Holiday is in, not that I am ever confident in Holiday, but $3,400 is too cheap for a guy that's likely to play 28 to 30 minutes in this game.
And on the high end of this game, on the high end for this team, Domantas Sabonis, he's back in action, missed the last two games, one due to a suspension, one due to personal reasons. De'Aaron Fox had some massive games in his absence. I can't pay this much for De'Aaron Fox. We didn't even want to pay this much for De'Aaron Fox when we didn't want to play De'Aaron Fox when he was in like the 8K range a few weeks ago. So I don't know that I want to pay up this much, but Sabonis is still of interest to me. This is a pretty good matchup for him against the Chicago Bulls. And Sabonis has become cheaper just because he missed two games. There's no reason to be concerned with an injury. This was, like I said, a suspension and out because of personal reasons. How do you view Domantas Sabonis today coming back from a 2-game absence?
I'm pretty interested in him as well. I mentioned him specifically on FanDuel in my tournament videos earlier because he's only $8,600, but he also has power forward and center eligibility, so it's just a little bit easier to get to him. On DraftKings, I like him too. He's only getting like 8% ownership, but he does have to contend with all of these other good center options, and since he is only center eligible, it makes $9,200 a little bit more expensive as well when you factor in opportunity cost. But he's averaged 1.3 DraftKings points per minute since he came to the Kings. He's averaged 32.7 minutes per game. The big issue is that he's dealt with foul trouble a lot. I think probably just because he's playing all of his minutes at center now, and that typically can lead to more fouling. But in games where he's not in foul trouble, we have still been seeing 36, 37 minutes. So I think the upside's there. And I think that really his price tag right now is just adjusted for like the 32-minute average that you've gotten. And if you give him 32 minutes, then he looks maybe a little bit underpriced, but pretty much correctly priced. But it's those games where he avoids foul trouble and the game's close and he plays 36 minutes where he can just destroy this price tag.
We just got the Cleveland Cavaliers starting lineup. Lamar Stevens starting in place of Dean Wade. I was not expecting him to enter the starting lineup. Let me look at his.
Cross my line.
Yeah, no, neither did I. I'm just bringing up some of his rates here to try to figure out if he's potentially viable. Something I did not consider at all today. Off the top of my head, my gut feeling is no, but let me double check here.
With LeVert back, I want to say that the answer is no.
Lamar Stevens he's made 8 starts this year. He's only averaging 23.5 minutes per game in those starts. That is going to make it difficult for me to get to him.
Yeah.
And also only 17.5 fantasy points in those games. No need to roster Lamar Stevens.
He's not a great point per minute guy. If you told me he was going to step in and play 30 plus minutes, I'd say sure. But I just kind of assume he's not in the closing lineup.
More than reasonable assumption, especially because Caris LeVert is back. So LeVert is going to come off the bench, potentially play limited minutes. I still think he probably closes the game over Lamar Stevens, though. Any other talking points for you on the Kings as we circle back on them before moving on?
Just to reiterate that the Justin Holiday news is weirdly big for this slate, I think.
Yep, I think that's totally reasonable. Even if Holiday plays, you mentioned it before, if we get 30 minutes out of Justin Holiday at a $3,400 price point on DraftKings, not a bad value option. A little bit different over on Fanduel, where it's 3,800 and the price is just softer in general, but a value play I'll be getting to on DK if he ends up playing. As you guys should know, it's coming up March Madness. And I know Adam in the past has had some success playing NCAA basketball DFS. And I also know, or at least I have a hunch, that Adam doesn't know that much about college basketball, but he's benefited from using our tools, which Matt Kajeski does a really good job updating. And you guys could sign up to get our March Madness DFS package for just $10, for just $20, get $10 off by using the promo code MADNESS when you check out. Madness, that is MADNESS. Much easier to remember than some of our other package codes, like let me see those picks if you're looking to sign up for our sports betting package. So if you guys are signing up for the sports betting package, you have to remember that code, let me see those picks, and you'll get access to it for only $15, but $10 off if you sign up for our March Madness DFS package using the promo code MADNESS. So we have a few games left here to talk about. Next one, Washington Wizards at the Golden State Warriors. And there is a really important piece of news here that I think is going to impact both sides of this game. That's Draymond Green being back, because he has been, for my money, the best defensive player in the NBA this season. It just hasn't been for that many games. Him being back in the mix, I think, makes this a much more difficult matchup for the Washington Wizards. As is, I don't really see a whole lot of pricing appeal to Washington. But how does Draymond Green being back affect the Warriors for you? And then also, what does this do for any potential value on Washington?
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing is that, Green's expected to be limited to 20 to 23 minutes, so you're not getting full run from him yet. I do think that as he plays more minutes, you start to see Jordan Poole's playing time come down a little bit. You start to see Kevon Looney's playing time come down. Tonight, I still don't see much from Golden State because they've gotten pretty expensive. I do still think that Steph Curry in large field tournaments makes some sense at 10K, but you're also, with it being a 9-game slate, it's not like you're getting a ton of ownership to Young, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Murray for a little bit more. I think all of those guys are better fantasy producers, but 10K for Curry in a good matchup still gives you a massive ceiling at like 2% ownership. Similarly, Klay Thompson's playing more minutes. He's 7,800. That's pretty clearly overpriced for his medium projection, but he can just go absolutely insane. So he kind of just is like, a little bit cheaper version of Curry, where you're never going to get to him just based off of pure medium projections, but there is a really wide range of outcomes there, which is pretty nice. On the Washington side, it's really difficult for me to get to much of anything. The one thing that does stand out to me a little bit, and I mentioned him in my DraftKings video earlier, is Kristaps Porzingis. He's likely to give you around 26 minutes, but at 7,200, that's not great, but he is a forward, and we've talked about that being a weaker position tonight. And he's averaging about 1.4 DraftKings points per minute since joining Washington. He's only played 72 minutes, but in the minutes he played without Luka on Dallas this year, he also averaged 1.36 DraftKings points per minute. Between like a 28 and 29% usage rate in those minutes for Dallas. He's at about 30% for Washington, double-digit rebounding and assist percentages in both cases as well. So I do think that he basically just averages around 1.4 fantasy points per minute, give or take, going forward for Washington. And if he does get, let's say 26, 27 minutes here, he can definitely give you a big game at 7,200 and pretty low ownership.
There is another element to the Golden State Warriors as well. I don't know if you saw this, but Andrew Wiggins has been added to the injury report as questionable. He's dealing with an illness. So if he's out, I think that would counteract some of the Draymond Green return to the lineup here, because I think Draymond Green dampers a bunch of guys on Golden State. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, I think it takes away a little bit from them. Not that much, but we see less assists go to Steph Curry and just less touches overall on offense for Klay Thompson. But what do you think happens to this team if Andrew Wiggins is out? Is there anybody you would see stepping into the starting lineup and potentially benefiting in a way that would want to get to them in DFS?
I don't think that there would be too much, just because Kerr runs such a deep rotation. Like if he's out, maybe Kuminga plays more, but he's already up to 4,800. Maybe Otto Porter plays more at 4,200. But when you bring Green back as well, and you're giving him 24 minutes, to me it basically just means that like somebody's losing those 24 minutes that are going to Green, and then Kerr is probably just going to be like, oh, okay, well, you can have those back. And, then Moody plays 20 or something, so I don't think it necessarily opens up a lot. And from a production standpoint, I don't think it opens up a ton, because we'd already seen Wiggins' usage rate come down since Klay came back. And Poole, probably would play some more minutes too. And it's not like he's a low usage guy. So I don't think it really would make me want to play anyone that I didn't already want to play.
Come the playoffs, I have a feeling that we're going to look back on Andrew Wiggins as an all-star start and say, boy, that one has not aged well. We'll see. That's my prediction going forward.
I don't have any issue with his all-star start just because of the positional eligibility. Like, I didn't think there was anybody more deserving than him.
Draymond
that was eligible at his position.
I would have went with Draymond.
He was hurt, wasn't he?
But he got hurt after Wiggins was named the starter.
Oh, okay. I thought he'd missed a bunch of time before that too.
No, it was he got hurt after the voting. Was neither here nor there. The positions are pretty stupid, especially for today. We have Jokic and Embiid going against each other. One of them is not going to make all NBA first team, and one of them is going to be second in the MVP race in all likelihood and not be on the all NBA first team. So I think we should do away with some of the position stuff, but it kind of is what it is. Next game here to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks against the Utah Jazz. And where does Giannis stand up for you on this slate against the guys like Jokic and Embiid? I personally have both those centers projected for more fantasy points as Giannis, but do you feel any differently than that?
Sorry, I missed what you asked.
So where does Giannis stack up against Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic? I have both of them projected for more fantasy points than Giannis.
I think they're very similar for me. They're in the same range, and they're similarly difficult to get to as well. Giannis, maybe a little bit easier because of the forward eligibility. One thing I do like about Giannis is that the matchup against Utah we know is difficult from a just an efficiency standpoint, but Milwaukee's involved in so many blowouts that I kind of think it comes out in the wash when you get a game with like a 1-point spread, even if it's a tough matchup, because it makes it a lot more likely you get that 36 minute game from Giannis. I like him more on Fanduel, where not only is he a little bit cheaper than he is on Fanduel or on DraftKings, but he has small forward, power forward eligibility. So you can roster him at the two weakest positions on the slate. I think it makes him a little bit easier to get to as well, but kind of just feels like more of a luxury than a necessity to me so far on the slate.
And as for the rest of the players on the team, it's a matchup against the Utah Jazz team. I know Rudy Gobert is officially listed as questionable, but all indications are that he's going to play today. I don't see anything else I want to get to from this team. Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, all priced about efficiently. Brook Lopez is back in the picture, and there's nobody else that I've gotten to with any kind of regularity from the Milwaukee Bucks this year. Do you see anybody else being a good option?
No, it's like if you land on a little bit of Holiday, a little bit of Middleton, whatever, that's not bad or wrong or anything, but they don't stand out to me at all.
So let's talk about Utah now. And first, we have to discuss the Rudy Gobert situation. He remains officially listed as questionable on the injury report, but he has said he expects to play. The team says he expects to play. How do you view this situation when we've got that news, but at the same time, he's being listed as questionable?
So I'm expecting him to play just, based on what he had said, but it's also not like it's that risky to roster him, because worst case, you just move him to Hassan Whiteside and then you get more money to spend, elsewhere in these 10 o'clock games. But I also really like this spot for Gobert. He's kind of like I was just saying with Giannis on the Milwaukee side. Utah is a team that is just better than most teams they play. So you get a decent amount of blowout risk typically. So with this being a game that's very, very likely to be competitive, I think that it's likely anyway that you would get like 33, 34 minutes from Gobert instead of 30, 31. But also, there's a good chance that Utah just would want him on the floor for every minute Giannis is on the floor. It wouldn't shock me if this just turned into a game where like Giannis and Gobert both play 35, 36 minutes. So I think that Gobert is going a bit overlooked today.
Yeah, and then I think something else to mention too. I know we traditionally think of these teams as good defenses. They're both only rating out slightly above average in defensive efficiency this year. And the total is 232.5. This is probably going to be a higher scoring game than most people realize. The primary option to me is still going to be Donovan Mitchell, particularly on Fanduel, where he's only 8,200, but 8,900 on DK for Donovan Mitchell. Is that a spot you're looking to get to as well?
Yeah, I think, it's not as easy as it is on FanDuel at 8,200, but it is still a good spot. He's likely to play 34, 35 minutes. And be a 32, 33% usage guy. So yeah, I think Mitchell looks very good. I think him and Gobert are the guys that look the best to me from Utah. And then you have Conley, who's pulling some ownership at 5,400. I think that's more of a product of like, there's just not a lot of guys we've talked about in that price range that we like. And so you're just going to land on Mike Conley a decent amount. But in terms of confidence levels and production levels, I feel much better about Mitchell and Gobert.
All right, one game left on the slate to talk about. The Toronto Raptors on the road against the Los Angeles Lakers, the struggling Los Angeles Lakers. Every single time the Lakers play, it just seems like a train wreck these days. We get these games where LeBron goes out and scores 50 points. He is giving zero shits on defense, though. If you look at some of these games, you won't even see him on frame in some of these defensive possessions. He just hangs out in the backcourt and waits for offense to start. So this seems like a pretty favorable matchup for the Toronto Raptors. In addition, Fred VanVleet is questionable. And a couple of questions for you here with this, Adam. With Fred VanVleet being on the injury report and this being the last start time on the entire slate, how are you going to approach this? How are you going to approach this from a late swap perspective? Number one, would you like Fred VanVleet if he plays? But if he's out, who are you swapping to? And are you making any accommodations in your lineups for the potential he doesn't play?
Yeah, so I'm assuming I just have him in for now, and I'm going to get to a good amount of him. I think he looks great if he's in. He's only $7,800 taking on the Lakers, point guard and shooting guard eligibility. I really, really like him at that price. And then if he's out, it's easy enough to deal with because any roster spot that assuming that he's not at point guard, any roster spot that he's in can just become Gary Trent Jr., and then you have $1,300 to work with. It would be a bump for Siakam. It would be a bump for Barnes. Like obviously I would recrunch lineups, but if it were just a situation where for some reason I didn't have anything else from, like we get news at 10:15 or something and I just don't have anything else. Worst case is he's just becoming Gary Trent, which I'm perfectly fine with as well if VanVleet's out.
What would be your expectations for a Raptors starting lineup? Because we've seen a couple different iterations of a starting unit that Toronto's gone to in recent games. We saw Armani Brooks start at point guard last game, but a couple games before, Scotty Barnes started at point guard, and we saw a start for Chris Boucher. Boucher versus Armani Brooks. If there is no Fred VanVleet, would you be looking to get to either of them?
So if there's no VanVleet, for now, I'm assuming they just go with that same starting lineup because they beat Denver in that game. Brooks played 21 minutes. So basically Brooks just took the Malachi Flynn spot and then played fewer minutes than Malachi Flynn. I assume they'd go with that same lineup. And if VanVleet is out, then I think it's a situation where like you can roll the dice on Boucher. He's 5,600, but he still played 30 minutes off the bench last game. And so it kind of just comes down to like, is he going to be in the closing lineup or is Armani Brooks going to be in the closing lineup? I think it probably depends in large part on how Boucher is playing, which whenever that's the case in tournaments, it makes them a pretty appealing option because, if they're playing well, that's when you really want them to get more minutes. If they're not playing well, they're probably killing your lineup anyway. So, it's still like tournament play, but you shouldn't feel great about it. Precious Achiuwa, I'm assuming starts one way or the other. 3,900 for him playing, low 20s in minutes, I think is fine, but not going to really stand out.
And I hate to do this, but we got over 20 minutes from Thaddeus Young last game. I've had no luck rostering this guy since he came to Toronto. And I keep trying to talk myself into playing him. Now he played 23 minutes last game. If Fred VanVleet is out, is there any consideration to Thad Young as being a value option?
Yeah, I mean, he's only 3,600. There's it's just a spot. It's just a spot where, like, yeah, if you go there and it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But there's enough volatility in his playing time where at this price tag, I almost think it's a positive, because if we knew for sure that you were getting 24 to 25 minutes from Thaddeus Young, he'd be wildly popular at 3,600 because there is a lot of uncertainty. One, because we don't know Van Vliet's status, and then two, because we still would just have uncertainty about how much Young is going to play. It just creates a situation where, obviously, like, for example, I like Amir Coffey, but he's going to be a million times higher owned than Thaddeus Young at basically the same price point, just as, the first example that came to mind. So, yeah, I'm willing to just, I'm willing to accept the 14-minute Thaddeus Young game because of what the payoffs are when you get the 24, 25-minute Thaddeus Young game.
Let's catch up on some super chats here. Then we'll wrap up the show by talking about the Lakers. Guys, don't go anywhere. Live Before Lock is coming up next. Also, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. First from Teddy Wayman. Thoughts on Rudy Gobert if he plays? He's playing on Fanduel. We touched on Gobert before. First, I expect he will play. Also, I really do like Rudy Gobert, particularly on Fanduel, the way that the scoring worked with us getting extra fantasy points for the defensive stats. 7,500 for Rudy Gobert not only is an egregious price tag, he's only projected for 4% ownership, which I think is being influenced by the questionable tag. But from what we've seen, it doesn't seem to be an issue. If Rudy Gobert plays at 7,500 4% ownership, how strong of a tournament option is that?
I love him in tournaments because, I mean, for one, just if he plays, his normal 30 to 32 minutes at 7,700, he can give you a very good game, and he's low owned and he's not that expensive. But, like I was saying when we talked about the Utah game, in this matchup, I wouldn't be surprised at all if you just got several minutes more than his average because of the combination of, one, what's likely to be a competitive game, and two, going up against one of the best players in the NBA who is reliant on scoring at the rim. I would think that you want Rudy Gobert at the rim for as many minutes as you can have him out there.
Super chat here from Captain J. Smith. Who are the top 3 core plays for single entry on DK? So at least in the build I have right now, the players I have the most exposure to are Amir Coffey, Terrence Mann, and Okongwu. Are there any of those guys you disagree with, Adam, or is there somebody else you'd throw into the mix as being a top play?
I'll throw Kennard in too.
Yeah, more than reasonable. All going to be popular. I think most of the chalk today is more than warranted, though.
Yep.
So it's. I don't look at any of these Clippers guys and be like, oh, I don't understand why they're popular. They all should be popular. Another super chat from Sween. Is there a lock value on FanDuel? No. Maybe a top 3, though. All right. So some of the guys on FanDuel are a little bit different looking than the guys on DraftKings. Drew Eubanks is only 4,300 on FanDuel. It makes him much more of a priority play. He's also going to be really popular, but still some of the same kind of considerations for me. Amir Coffey, still a really strong play over on FanDuel, as is Luke Kennard. As for a third guy, though, I guess Giannis, just because he's the power forward and small forward eligibility, and at least when we get to the center position, there's more options. But I'm kind of inclined to say Rudy Gobert right now is just as a low-owned GPP option. 7,500, 4% owned Rudy Gobert. I'll add him to the mix as a top 3 play for me. How about you, Adam? Anybody you'd add as being a top 3 play on FanDuel?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. If he meant value in terms of just like cheap and not in terms of underpriced, I think Kennard would be my third guy behind Coffey and Eubanks.
All right, and let's round up this slate by talking about the Lakers. More specifically, probably just talking about LeBron. I know he's listed as questionable. I just have to assume he plays at this point. Nobody else on the Lakers is really playable for me. As for LeBron, if I have the space to pay up for him, cool. But I prefer Giannis. I prefer Jokic. I prefer Embiid today. Where are you standing with LeBron on this slate?
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. He's a good play if you can get to him, but I've already said that I think it's difficult for me to get to Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis, and those guys all, as good as LeBron produces without Anthony Davis on average, those guys are all still better point per minute fantasy producers. So, if it's difficult for me to get to them at basically the same price, it's going to be difficult for me to get to LeBron as well. But again, if more value opens up, or if you just have a lineup that you really like where LeBron fits, then by all means, play LeBron.
And is there anybody I'm overlooking on the Lakers? Nope. To me, it's okay. Easy enough. And with that, we could end the show, Adam, with a firm no. And I don't think we're going to get any more concise or confident than that. If you guys have the space for LeBron, cool. Nobody else on the Lakers to get to. Stick around. Live Before Lock is coming up next. Thanks to Yahoo for sponsoring the show. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck tonight, everybody.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Why would I wouldn't say it if it weren't true.
Jordan, start a poll. I need to know what the average age is. Already got him squirming in his seat.
I squirm in my seat constantly.
No, I'm
like
talking
Leo
about
Mazzoni.
Talking about Jordan. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Live Before Lock show. What's going on, everybody? Happy to be with you. We got 9 games today. Thanks to Greg and Adam for the deeper dive. I'm with my man Josh Engleman at Josh Engleman, hanging out here, and we're going to go all the way up through 7:30 for the after show as well. How you feeling, man?
Pretty good, honestly. A little tired, nothing crazy. I wanted this slate to be less than 9 games. It's not, so I didn't get what I wanted, but I'm here to talk about it with you, so it makes it a lot easier.
Everyone's putting their age in chat. I was not asking for their age. I won't.
That's not the right age. I mean, I don't care. So this one's on you.
Do it.
No. I will participate. You are the host. You want to run this topic? Go for it. I will participate.
I can't.
But this one's on you.
I can't.
Can we save that for 7 o'clock?
Yeah, we'll save that for 7 o'clock.
I'm sure that's just what Yahoo wants.
Or we'll save it for the Thursday strategy show.
That's fine too.
Because we have one game and it's the Pistons.
Who sponsors that? Hopefully Odd Shopper.
Yeah. Whoever it is won't be sponsoring it any longer.
Well, that's why we need it to be Odd Shopper.
Exactly. Hey, we got a lot to talk about. 9 games. We're going to dive into all of this. And for anyone wondering, Mondays, Josh and myself now on Live Before Light. Got to give Greg and Eric a break on the hour-and-a-half shows 5 days a week, right?
Yeah.
Greg and Adam do the deeper dive. So that'll be Monday. Teddy, favorite value play on Fanduel. We'll get there. Just remind me, Jordan. Thanks for the super chat. And Joe, welcome to Team Awesemo, brother. Glad to have you here. If you want to, you can join down below, but hit that thumbs up. So we just got like 40 out of the gate, but I feel like at 386 right now, we are lacking.
I mean, I agree. I don't want to disparage the 2 gentlemen before us. I mean, it's not like Adam was going to do anything to like make that happen. So
no, Adam looked like he just came from the Arctic. He had a jacket on. He had that tight, like DraftKings skull cap.
We aren't all that far away from each other at this particular moment. Was your day today as beautiful as it was here?
Fantastic, man. Almost 60 degrees, no wind. Beautiful. Took the dog for a nice walk.
There was some snow and shit out here. I was like, like 10 o'clock. I was like, maybe I should go out and like toss some of that out into the road so it'll melt a little bit faster. That shit just melted anyway.
It just melted. Is that what you do? Just throw it into the road for unsuspecting drivers?
Well, no, like my parents live on like a pretty relatively private street. So like now at this point in time, it's pretty easy to just like scatter it straight through the road so that like you get a little bit more surface area instead of it just being packed where the parking spot was, but wasn't even necessary. That shit just melted because it was hot.
Absolutely. Adi says, hey, actually a productive comment for once. Hey, Adi, glad to have you. Adam's the knowledge. Yeah, for sure. I mean, Adam provides good knowledge. He just zero interest in anything else. That's all.
Yeah. Obviously Adam being on a show is like a really good thing for us, but he's not exactly like hit that like button, everybody.
No, absolutely not.
I don't even know. Like, obviously I don't listen to anything that Adam does, but I don't know if he asks for likes on the GPP video.
I think he does, but it's just very like, hi, I'm Adam. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. Today's show is sponsored by Yahoo. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, that's all. Anyway, we're over 500 likes, so appreciate you guys. Biggest thing to hit on first and foremost is, and yeah, Josh is in PA right now. He doesn't live there, but the biggest thing to hit on, we're going to go guards, forwards, centers. The guards for the Clippers are intense right now. You have 9 available players, right? And a lot of the front court, well, at least the center rotation isn't really affected much with Zubac and Hartenstein. But in the backcourt, and we can talk about forwards too once we get there, because you have no Marcus Morris either. It is really interesting. If you were to pull off, and I just set this up for you, if you were to pull off all of the guys that are out today or just like aren't on the team anymore or have been out, like Jackson, Bledsoe, Powell, because Jackson's missed 3 games, but Bledsoe was still there. Powell, Paul George, Marcus Morris. You really only get a couple guys with over 200 minutes. One of them's Hartenstein. That doesn't matter. And then you got like Terrence Mann, Brandon Boston, and Amir Coffey. We don't learn much by taking those guys off the floor is what I'm saying.
No, we do not. I mean, like, I guess we get the guys that definitely don't go over 20% usage, but they certainly could. I'm basically just letting my sheet calculate usage based on whatever I assume someone's normal usage is, and then adjusting up for all of the possessions that we end up losing because they don't have anybody out there that does anything.
Pretty much.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It is.
We don't get these kind of situations all that frequently.
No, and we've had a decent amount of them lately. And let me ask you this. This probably makes the most sense when we're looking at this. A lot of times it's easy to just be like, all right, well, they're down a bunch of guys, play all of them. There are certain situations, though, based on the limitations on their roster, right? Only having 8 or 9 guys, but not just that. Sometimes and often you have to have that connection with salary too. So if you're saying, okay, can you play 4 guys or easily play 3 guys from this team? The answer is a resounding yes from the Clippers, because most of the guys you're playing are $4,000 or less, and they're all going to play pretty significant minutes.
Absolutely. It's really difficult. There's such a gigantic chunk. I mean, even like the ownership's not as crazy as I expected. It's a little bit bigger on one particular guy that we'll definitely get to, but Coffey, Mann, Kennard, Batum, Zubac, Boston, Hartenstein, like all 7 of those guys are ultra viable. Now, like Zubac to a degree is probably priced appropriately, but he could also just play 32 minutes today. Like it would be, I don't expect that. I might not want him and Hartenstein in the same lineup, but I mean, even he can justify his price in the 6s. It's not good. He's, to me, the worst play on the Clippers, but it's not like he's the worst play and he shouldn't be played. He's just not as good as the rest of them.
Right. And Brandon, that's what I was saying earlier. Brandon Furler said it's really 7 guys playing 4 positions with Zubac and Hartenstein at center.
Yep.
Yes. It's exactly what it is. Now,
correct.
I don't know how comfortable I am playing Zubac and Hartenstein in the same lineup, only because most of Hartenstein's best games, not to say he isn't a good per minute producer, because he is, but most of his good games are because Zubac has been in foul trouble.
Yeah, there's too many games on today's slate in order to go to something like that. It just doesn't feel. I just don't see it, honestly. Like for the season, they haven't played alongside of each other. So it's not like you're going to get any sort of extra bonus because they're shorthanded and these guys are like on the court at the same time. They have not been on the floor at the same time this season. So the best you could hope for is them getting all 48 minutes. And it's the Clippers. Like if you told me they only played 44 of the 48, that wouldn't shock me either.
Jordan, sidebar when you get a chance. So what's up? Yeah, we've been on guards. We were just kind of jumping around a little bit. But yeah,
when you say that we've been on guards, I'm going to go with Jordan on this one. Had no concept that I was on guards. Well,
we got to be somewhere, right? I mean, we're already 14 minutes in.
That's we got to be somewhere. That's
got to be somewhere. It's a term to live by. Are you willing to set any limit? Do you want to set any groups with Coffey, Mann, Boston, Kennard? These guys are the 4 right now highest projected owned players on the entire slate. Like 3 max.
So the problem, I mean, maybe it's not even a problem. Like Brandon Boston's the flat 3K. Amir Coffey's 3,700. Having those 2 guys in the same lineup doesn't matter at all from a group's perspective. Man, like you might only want, is it like max 3 of Coffey, Mann, Kennard, Boston? Like
that's what I was saying. I think so.
Probably not.
I think really.
No, I don't think that I don't see anything natural that I'd be setting outside of Zubac and Hartenstein. And I don't even think I need to set that just because of their price tags. I just don't think it's all that crazy. So I calculate ceiling based on the minutes that I have projected. If I hit that mark, like if Amir Coffey plays the 35 minutes that I have in for him, we'll just say that for right now. these guys have ceilings. Like Brandon Boston's ceiling to me at 25 minutes is 35 fantasy points. Like he can play 25 minutes and get 30. He can play 20 minutes and get 30 fantasy points, not take anything off the table for Coffee, Man, or Kennard, and still be a guy that you would want to have in that lineup. So I don't see it. If you get a lineup with Coffee, Man, Kennard, and Brandon Boston, other than the fact that that's going to be aggressively chalky, I don't have a problem having that.
Okay. Yeah. And I think in cash, obviously, that's going to be pretty popular build as well. But
I have, based on the target scores that I have for those four guys, you're looking for 125 fantasy points between the four of them. That's 31 and a quarter on average.
So do you not think, though, that even though there's no obvious cannibalization, that it's just naturally going to happen? Like, okay, these guys, let's say, okay, we have over at our projections, our Awesemo projections, we have, and on our projections page, you can pull up projected stats as well, in case you were wondering. We have Man around 35 minutes, Coffee around 35 minutes, basically the same numbers you were giving off. Brandon Boston at 25. We have Luke Kennard at 30. Even if they all get those minutes, right, it's still unlikely that all four of them get there. No? Like you're talking about targets.
I mean, it's unlikely that all three of them get there.
Right.
If we're really having that conversation.
But if we're talking about target scores and we're reaching for, and doesn't that, when you're looking at four of them, become a bit of an issue, even though they're cheap?
Not as much to me because of the prices. I just don't think that these guys have to hurt each other all that much.
Okay. It's fair. It does worry me a little bit, though, because if we're being completely honest, they're not all particularly great players, which is why they're cheap. I'm not saying not to play them. I feel more comfortable with three, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most likely scenario is me getting three. I wouldn't stop myself from getting four unless I was getting four always.
Right. Okay.
Like if you're playing, if you build a lineup that you like with four, I don't think that that's an issue. If you're playing 150 max and you get a couple with four, like I certainly wouldn't be trying to make that change.
NBA player rankings are free today too on the site. You can check them out. NHL player projections as well, also free. If you want to get in on that, you don't have to pay for anything. So if we were to round out the Clippers here, because obviously, Josh, this is the biggest spot, right?
Yeah. This is massive.
If you're setting, you're going to have, there's no way around this unless you're just really trying to manipulate or massage projections. You're going to get a lot of Terrence Mann. You're going to get a lot of Amir Coffey. You're going to get a lot of Brandon Boston. You're going to get a lot of Luke Kennard. You're probably going to get a decent amount of Nicholas Batum, who had already been playing additional minutes with the absence of Robert Covington. Do you have any clear preferences here in terms of just head and shoulders above the other guys?
Coffee for me, 3,700. Shooting guard and small forward, so you can put him anywhere. The guy that has the highest odds, I'd say, to play the most minutes for the Clippers. If he's bad, I'm willing to take that chance. I just think he's the easiest value on this slate to get to. The ownership is clearly there. He's the highest owned guy on the team, but he's at like north of 50% in my personal boom metric. It's so hard for him to fail, even as a not good fantasy point per minute guy.
Let's talk a little bit about the Oklahoma City Thunder, another team that's just down a ton of players once again.
Yeah.
We could get to Gilgeous-Alexander. 36% usage rate in games that Josh Giddey hasn't played this year is just outrageous. And he's dropped 30-plus actual points in 7 of 9 since he's returned. He's been fantastic, Josh. But now you fall into a spot where they're facing Charlotte, one of the fastest paced teams in the league, middling defense, to say the least. No Giddey, no Dort. Wiggins is out. Kenrich Williams remains out. Jerome's out for the year. Derek Favors is out. I mean, they're really limited here, which is throwing someone like Teo Maledon as one of the highest owned guards today as well.
Yeah, that seems fine to me. Maledon at 3,500, probably the second best play on OKC. Oklahoma City is just like a worse version of the Clippers, but on a normal day, this would look like a good version. Like they're all every single one of these guys is basically a step behind all of the best options from the Clippers, but they're all still really good in comparison to the rest of the slate. So I would start with Mal. I mean, let's ignore Shea for a second because talking about him is a very different thing than talking about the rest of these morons. But Maledon would be my first guy up. Baisley at 5,300 because he's got power forward center is probably my second option. And then whatever Lindy Waters is probably third.
Two good questions. Devin says, thanks for the super chat, Devin. Of the 4 chalky Clippers players, which one would you most likely fade? So we're talking we're talking Coffee, Boston, and then Luke Kennard. And then Batum's down there a little bit too.
Terrence Mann at 5K.
Okay. Just because he's the more expensive guy, really?
Yeah, I mean, I like the shooting guard small forward. It would be either Mann or Kennard for me. I do like both of those guys, obviously. You're just, as you work your way up in price, you're more likely to find guys with comparable ceilings and comparable situations to that guy. When you're getting guys that are going to play, Brandon Boston plays 25 minutes, you don't find a lot of those guys that are fantasy, 0.9 fantasy point per minute guys at the flat minimum, or Amir Coffey playing 35 minutes at 3,700. Terrence Mann, there's going to be a lot of guys around 5K that you can just sort of swap. Terrence Mann's not going to beat all of them all that frequently.
And Denzel asked, if you play 3 Clippers, do you have to run it back with 1 Cav? No,
they're not expensive enough.
Nope. And it's not like they're not expensive and they only have 9 active players. So
yeah,
they're going to play regardless of the score here.
Correct.
What do you
that's why somebody like Brandon Boston looks so good, because if this game goes poorly, he's also going to be the guy that's out there at the end. They're not like really trying to run Rodney Hood into the ground as much.
No doubt. What do you make of the top tier guards today? You have some obvious ones that are worth talking about. I mean, Gilgeous-Alexander really isn't getting a ton of ownership, but he has been spectacular. And the thing that's important here is if you look at his minutes, Adam and I talked about it this morning. If you look at his minutes, even in blowouts, like some of these games decided by 28 points, he still plays 35 minutes. So he's seen 1 or 2 games limited to blowouts. 2 games ago, he scored 8 points. It was just an off night for him. All right, you pull him at 31 minutes, you're getting smoked anyway. But for the most part, SGA is operating with a 35+% usage rate every night. And he's not losing the same type of minutes that other starters would in the event that a game gets out of hand. Really interesting spot.
It's a little wild that they play him as much as they do.
It's crazy.
Because they get their ass kicked like every other day. I mean, they're getting beat by 30 constantly.
And he's not mailing it in.
If any team needs the Elam ending, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder for sure. Like when that fourth quarter starts, they should be. The other team probably only needs like 5 more points before everybody could hit the road.
Dude, I was looking at something today when I was doing the Best Bets channel video on the Odd Shopper channel, because the Sixers have been objectively bad in the first quarter ever since Harden came over. Like almost every game, they're just down by 15. Let me see what their net rating is. A -16 net rating since Harden came over in the first quarter. You'd say that's pretty bad, right?
Yeah, it's not great.
Well, it's second worst because the Thunder are -21 in the first quarter. Like they just get behind early and never really do much after that. But if Gilgeous-Alexander, if SGA is going to continue getting the same minutes with the same usage, it's hard to make arguments against him.
Yeah, I'm happy to play him. Is he my first choice guard? No. Is he my second choice pay up guard? Probably, yeah.
So perfect. Okay, thank you for the segue. DeJounte Murray's got Minnesota today. Yeah. Trae Young, without Collins and Danilo Gallinari, has a skeleton crew Portland team. Those are 2 other pay up options at the guard position that seem pretty interesting themselves.
Yeah, I think Murray is far and away that guy today. I have him miles ahead of every other guard, including James Harden above him, all of the guys below him. I would like to get to all of the DeJounte Murray. He's just been absolutely fantastic since the trade deadline. You mentioned Segway. Have you ever ridden a Segway?
I can't say that. No, I have not.
Okay. Neither have I.
Oh, you were
That's all I got. Yeah, I thought about it. I've never been on one of those things.
I'll be honest with you. Maybe it's a pride and ego thing, but I wouldn't be caught dead on one of those.
I mean, it depends where I am.
Call it vain. I don't care.
I bet they're fun.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything worse? And I apologize to all of you in advance who have taken up this profession.
Hell, this is going to be great.
Do you remember the mall cops that would ride around on the Segways?
I mean, I know that that's a thing because of Paul Blart, but no, I don't.
I remember I remember seeing one of them chase somebody on a Segway, and I just thought to myself, thank God that's not me.
I'd have been tossing shit in front of the wheels and stuff with a stick.
I'd rather catch a shoplifting charge. Not that they're going to catch you.
No.
But
I mean, just they can't turn. You know, like if I go right, that they can't immediately. They don't turn on a dime.
No.
Yeah, coast into that turn.
I could see Jordan cruising around his like luxurious Southern California property on a Segway, couldn't you? Like, hey neighbors, going to get the mail. They're all watering the lawn.
Helmet or no?
Oh yeah, and elbow pads.
Okay, yeah, for sure. I
Right?
mean, knee pads, obviously, but they probably just don't come off.
Adi, my biggest supporter, says I look like Paul Blart. So there's that.
I mean, Kevin James lost a lot of weight and is like fit now. I think he's a
he?
jiu-jitsu black belt too. Yeah.
Oh well, I am that.
No, you're not.
No, I'm not.
But I mean, like that's more redeeming than being Paul Blart.
Yeah, it is. 600 likes, by the way. Appreciate you guys. So we were talking. You just went off the reservation there to ask.
My apologies. I know that is a rare occurrence for our combination here.
It's also something that I'm not comfortable with. So just careful. But
What, Segway riding?
No, just going off track here. I try and stay focused. As someone pointed out before the show, Laffy needs to take notes from other hosts. And which is funny. You guys love when I run late because then you don't have to do the full hour and a half on Live Before Lock.
Yeah, I mean, the moment that I see that you have 3 games left and it's 5:57, you should see the amount of DMs that I've sent him being like,
time,
yo, man,
please.
just go until 7.
I wanted to ask you about Murray, and we can throw Harden into the mix. I want to talk too about, do we think they're going to be limited on the second of a back-to-back after an overtime game where Harden played? I know, but we have to talk about it, right? He played 44 minutes last night in a game that never should have gone to overtime to begin with. I have some reservations there, especially given that you have DeJounte Murray and SGA at cheaper price points and Trae Young at a significantly cheaper price point.
Yeah, the only thing that's really appealing about James Harden today is his ownership. Otherwise, it's just a lot. Like, I'd rather go to Trae. I'd rather go to Shea. I mean, I'd rather have Harden than Steph, but it's pretty close. I'd rather have like De'Aaron Fox than James Harden today. It just doesn't look all that great at 11K, particularly off of last night's game. So I just don't want to be there. It's all Murray to me. I mean, I would expect the fact that he's as low owned as he is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that. Do you think I was going to say maybe because of all the Clippers, but if you just like on DraftKings, they all have all of them have multi-position eligibility. All of those Clippers.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I don't think he's close to anybody else.
He's in such a fantastic spot.
Yeah.
That I don't really know why what do you think the purpose? Why do you think his ownership is as low? Like, do you think there's any specific, because it's not like he's 11-5 either, it's not like you're like, I'll just go to Jokic.
No, I mean, like I've got it set so that you're looking for like 68 fantasy points out of DeJounte Murray to be able to say like, oh, okay, this guy is 100% in an optimal lineup no matter what. So anything north of 60 looks fine. We're talking about a guy that's been putting up 1.5 fantasy points per minute and playing 36 minutes a game. Aaron Gordon is available. Zeke Naji is out.
Okay. So
hold on one second.
Doesn't do much.
Hey, what's up? I'm live. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if you were.
I'll talk to you later.
This is good stuff.
Okay.
Candid. Good stuff. Who was that? Your pops?
That was my mom.
Why didn't you bring her in to say hi?
She's
Mrs. Engleman. Okay. I know. I think people would have loved to have met your mom.
They probably would.
Is she
Very.
friendly? Yeah?
Very. Yeah.
All right. Call her in.
She's in the middle of something.
In the middle of interrupting your live show.
Yes, that is true.
Okay. Never mind. That's fine. Manny C said Josh has parents.
That's fair.
All right. Any other specific guards here that are worth getting into? It's obviously the biggest part of the slate, just based on all of the Clippers stuff.
What was your question? I wasn't listening to you at all.
Good. Any other guards you want to hit on? Like, what about Trae Young? Because you talked about Murray, right? And we talked about SGA.
So like I see Trae Young pretty similarly to Shea, probably like a quarter step behind him. If we're talking any guards or just like relative pay up options.
Any other guards we haven't talked about that you like?
I mean, Gary Trent is someone that's been popping a lot for me. I'd be happy to get to Fred VanVleet, who appears to be at relatively low ownership with some, questionableness tonight. I think Trent's probably the one that's getting slept on the most. I just really like the spot. It's really easy to score against the Lakers, and Gary Trent basically only scores. So
how confident are you? His ownership has come down, thankfully. But well, I shouldn't say thankfully. It would have been nice to have him 21% as we had earlier. But what about Mike Conley?
He was popping a little bit earlier for me today. With all the Clippers value, he sort of just blends in. But he's the perfect example of, well, if you don't want to go to chalky Terrence Mann, go to Mike Conley at basically the same price and 1/3 of the ownership. Like their ultimate ceilings are not all that different.
So I guess you could talk about this at forwards. Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about this at forwards. Also, a couple promo codes. If you go to awesemo.com/promos that we got for you right now, the premium sports betting Discord is live now, and we're doing a big discount. It's like, I think it's $15 off. So half off for the first week. It gets you $15 for everything in the premium bets Discord. If you want to check that out, the promo code is let me see those picks. It's preposterous. But fortunately, if you just go to awesemo.com/promos, you can just click that, right?
Yeah.
You have Alex and you have Steve Buzzard and Ben Rasa using industry-leading projection models to identify the best ROI situations and provide catered snapshot betting analysis. Doesn't that sound nice? In an actionable time frame. You'll also get the ROI tracker and a bunch of other cool stuff when you check that out. It's good through the 17th. And with March Madness rapidly approaching, you want to get in on that. Also, all of our March Madness stuff, if you use the promo code Madness or go to awesemo.com/madness, you get all of those you get all the projections, everything. I think it's $29.95, right, Jordan? For everything March Madness, all of our projections, everything we have for DFS, all of our sports betting analysis, all of our picks in Discord. So jump in there, awesemo.com/promos. All right.
A lot of people going with the Meatloaf Wedding Crashers line, which I really enjoyed. Yeah,
it's a good one. Good movie. You can never make that movie today, but I'm just glad it was made.
I've never laughed harder at a movie in my life than seeing that in the theater.
I didn't see it in theaters. I wish I did.
I like the whole theater was freaking out. I couldn't breathe when Will Ferrell finally, spoiler alert for everybody that hasn't seen Wedding Crashers yet. When Will Ferrell finally comes out at the end, I mean, it was like somebody hit a buzzer beater. The whole place went nuts.
Think about that era though, like Step Brothers, Wedding Crashers. A little bit before that, but Old School is an absolute classic, right?
Yeah, I mean, like Anchorman, stuff like that. Like there was so much high-end comedy at that point.
It's gone.
Yeah,
it's gone.
40-Year-Old Virgin.
That was a good one too.
Knocked Up, stuff like that. Like that.
And there's a lot more. Great. There's a lot more of that time frame that were elite that I still watch frequently to this day, all the time.
Oh yeah, anytime that they're on, I'd be in.
I'm sure chat will give us some good ones that were out around then as well too. You know what was a really good underrated movie? That's My Boy. No.
I'm afraid to type that. Do I need a incognito window to type that in?
Anybody that knows some fun stuff.
Oh, I forgot about this.
That was a fun movie.
I am a huge Andy Samberg guy, and I totally forgot about this movie.
Vanilla Ice was in it too.
Oh, I totally forgot about this movie.
Go watch it next time you get it.
It's a girl, Leighton Meester, in this bad boy.
It's so good, so good. Anyway, check it out. Anyone that says it was
Grandma's Boy. There's another one.
Grandma's Boy is my favorite comedy, I think, ever. Not even kidding.
Super bad.
Super bad. Yeah. Anyone that says That's My Boy is bad doesn't understand like good, bad comedy. It was good, bad comedy, and it was the best.
Yeah. Look, those movies, that type of movie is best watched with a little help.
Yeah, right. Right.
You know?
Oh, The Hangover, Lauren. Good call. The Hangover.
Yeah. Exceptional.
Super Troopers. Super Troopers is earlier though. I remember I was at a youth.
That's high school for me.
I was at a church youth group, like movie theater trip, and they all went to see something. And I snuck into Super Troopers. Still remember that. Pineapple Express. Yeah, there were some good ones. But anyway, with Danilo Galinari and Collins out,
I forgot we were doing a DFS show.
It's a problem. We got plenty of time. We're doing all right. Does anybody pop for you on Atlanta? Because you've got Hunter, you've got Bogdanovich, but the problem is Bogdanovich. I guess there isn't much of a problem outside of these 6K, but it's a phenomenal matchup. They are on a second of a back-to-back. But you take Gallo off the floor, you take another, you take a power forward and John Collins off the floor. Obviously, should benefit Collins or Capella or potentially Okongwu, but you got to fill up those wing minutes that Gallinari is bleeding as well.
I hate this Hawks team because I always feel like no matter what I guess for what's going to happen when guys are out, they kind of just go a different direction. Even though it always seems like it should be super obvious. Like, okay, Bogdanovich's minutes are firm. He's going to play north of 30. And same for Kevin Huerter. And then Okongwu is just going to be the backup center and we get 28 out of Capella. And today's just going to be one of those days where it's like 24-24 to Capella and Okongwu. For some strange reason, Kevin Knox is going to play like 22 minutes. Lou Will is going to get some additional run, or DeLon Wright's going to get some additional run. And somehow Kevin Huerter is going to still play like 24 minutes. I don't trust them. And their ownership is exactly like the epitome of my feelings. 18, 20, 13, 15, 20, 21. Like they're all basically the exact same guy. That's so difficult, but yet also in a weird way, so appealing.
It is. We got some news too, and we'll get into that. Hey, John Galt. He said, I remember seeing Dumb and Dumber, something about Mary, Kingpin, something about Mary. Excellent.
Kingpin.
Couldn't make something about Mary today. I'll tell you that right now. Zero chance. Dumb and Dumber is one of my all-time favorites as well. So yeah.
I could not tell you the last time I saw that because I don't have cable any longer. It used to be so easy to catch half of it because it would just be on like TNT or TBS all the time.
As a kid, I had the DVD. I still have it somewhere, and I used to just like watch it every night before I went to bed. It's if you don't like Dumb and Dumber, get the hell out of here.
I know. Oh, Van Wilder. That's another great shout.
Van Wilder.
I was obsessed with that movie.
Let's talk about, I want to just move around because let's hit on the important stuff.
That's
OKC fair. Just released their starting lineup.
Oh God.
I wasn't sure this would happen, but Oliver Sarr is starting. Now it's not, I was wondering a lot yesterday, what happened? What in the world happened with Isaiah Roby? 2 quick fouls, but then no real foul trouble the rest of the game. And he still only played 16 minutes and he had been playing particularly well lately, at least from a fantasy standpoint. But then you had Sarr play a lot of minutes alongside Darius Bazley. Now they're starting next to each other, Josh.
Yeah, that changes a little bit, I guess. I mean, I'm going to make the change now and see, because I don't exactly trust his minutes. They don't, it's Oklahoma City. There's 24 feels about right for Sarr, at which point I've got like 21 left over for Roby. I think that seems pretty reasonable. If Sarr's getting 24 minutes, let's see. I mean, he becomes a good, not great play. 3,300 works. Just center is mildly limiting, especially on a slate that at least right now has Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic playing each other. I have him behind Bazley, behind Waters, behind Maladon, but certainly a guy you want to go to for value. It's going to be hard to want to prioritize someone like that based on one, in the samples that we have, he's not all that spectacular. I've got him as a 0.8 guy. He's been at 0.74 fantasy points per minute over the last 30 days. It's a great value. If any one of these centers go big today, you end up in a real rough spot.
It's also a good matchup too against Charlotte, right?
Oh yeah.
Bad rebounding team, fast pace, going to be a lot of opportunities for peripherals. And if I saw correctly, he's starting at the 5, Bazley at the 4. So I'm with you. Like the underlying numbers are not great. The per minute production has been modest to say the least. And we really have zero idea how many minutes he plays. It would not shock you at all, right? If he still only plays like 18 minutes and then Roby just gets a lot of minutes off the bench.
Am I dumb? What the hell? Why is he not showing up in this table?
Did you spell him wrong?
No, like he's in my sheet and he's on another tab.
So I don't know.
Okay, where do I have his boom? 19-7. So of all the guys that are at center, I have him 1, 2. Not. I don't mean just center, but like anybody with center eligibility on DraftKings. Yeah. I would have Sar tied for 5th with Drew Eubanks.
Tied for 5th among all centers with.
In terms of like my favorite plays at center, like Bazley has center eligibility.
Who's ahead of him?
Bazley, Capella, Okongwu, PJ Washington, and then tied with Drew Eubanks.
All right.
And then, like, in terms of, not the Siakam, Sabonis, Embiid, Jokic type crew. Because obviously we're measuring those guys against other shit.
I feel like at this point, if he gets starter minutes, and we have no idea if he will, he's going to smash just because he's out there. But
you would think.
Yeah, but how many minutes do you project him for? Right?
Like I said, I gave him 24.
I think it's so tough to go over 24 minutes for him, right?
Yeah, we have no history of him being able to play that. He played 25.5 on Monday, February 28th
against Sacramento.
Yeah. And that's, I don't think that like leads us into anything. It's just like, that's sort of what we know he can play. 24 seems about right.
Was Roby?
I would imagine that's about where we come in once it gets updated on the site, if it hasn't been updated yet.
Was Bazley or Roby at that game? No, they both played.
No, everybody was in.
All right.
Even Aaron Wiggins played that day.
Yeah, that's strange. If we're talking,
I was going to say maybe it was a blowout, but holy shit. Like, half of these games are a blowout.
You'd say maybe it wasn't a blowout.
Maybe the game stayed close.
Do you think anybody else at forward? And we have the deeper dive for a reason, because we want to hit on all the important stuff here. As any news breaks, we're going to do everything we can to make sure we hit on that.
Is the reason that we have the deeper dive so that we look better when we get all the likes? Because we're up over 600 now. And by me saying this, I assume everybody can hit the like button again, all over 3,000 of you. Maybe we can run that up to like 800.
Well, we need 143 to get to 800.
Seems reasonable enough. Hit that like button, guys. The reason we have the deeper dive is for Lofty and I to look better.
Yes, exactly. I told you, I can't, if I want to alleviate the shame and face my family, look them in the eyes after this, show my young daughter staring at me, depressed and humiliated that I couldn't get the job done. If you don't want that, you probably do. But if you don't want that, hit that thumbs up. Josh has to walk out that door and face his mother.
I can't wait. She's going to give me a nice dinner, probably.
Because of the likes.
Yeah, because of the likes.
Right. Got to get there. Gray asks Brandon Williams on FanDuel. Josh, while you answer this, I'm going to try and look for these other super chats. I think Jordan, curated them for me in our other chat. But Brandon Williams on FanDuel, favorite forwards besides the Clippers.
Hold on. Is Brandon Williams on FanDuel just like that's the question?
Yes. Like, hey, do I play Brandon Williams on FanDuel? And hey, what other forwards do you like?
All right. Let me try to figure out where the hell I have Brandon Williams. Brandon Williams on FanDuel is my, call it 5th best play. So yes, Brandon Williams on FanDuel, absolutely. A little bit different of a play on DraftKings. I think he's got like a really stupid price hike. He's $5K on FanDuel and $6,500 on DK. So it's a very different question. But yes, love Brandon Williams. You should absolutely be going that direction. What was the other part? Clippers something?
People think people are like, wait, Josh still lives with his mom?
No. I haven't had this place as my address in 17 years.
Yeah, haven't you been married for like 8 decades already?
I've been married for 8 years, but the moment I left for school, I never had an address. This was never my address again. I mean, like, I'd be here every once in a while on weekends and stuff, but I lived at school during summers.
We still hit 800 likes, though. Appreciate you guys.
Of course we did. What was the other part of that Brandon Williams
No more
question?
ramen. You're getting the good stuff today.
You know what's crazy? Never ate that.
I tried it once and I hated it.
It's delicious, though.
I don't like it. I'll try. I mean, I'm certainly not a food snob. You know that better than anybody, but I just never enjoyed it. All right. The other part was favorite forwards besides the Clippers on FanDuel, which is a good way to round out the position anyway.
Favorite forwards on FanDuel that aren't on the Clippers. That's easy. I could just select everybody except for the Clippers. Favorite forwards that aren't Clippers: Drew Eubanks, Miles Bridges, Gary Trent, Pascal Siakam, Anthony Edwards.
All right. Well worth the super chat. And then Teddy asked favorite value play on FanDuel. That was earlier. I said we'd wait.
Oh, okay. Favorite value play on FanDuel. I mean, this should be pretty. Somebody on the Clippers, I'm sure.
I was going to say, is it really? Like, is there a real favorite value play, or can you just say Eubanks, Coffee, Kennard, Batum? Like, you want it's pieces of all of them.
Yeah. I mean, Coffee is at the top of my list, but Eubanks isn't that far behind. Kennard, Batum. I mean, Brandon Williams at 5K is a pretty good price tag. That's probably it in terms of like value.
And then we had a couple others here. Thoughts on Donovan Mitchell on FanDuel?
I mean, he definitely plays today. I don't like, he's just a guy today. If you like him, great. Like, he showed up in my Sims 14% of the time. He's pulling 20% ownership on FanDuel. He's good. Target scores 58. He can do that, but he's not on the list of priorities. Like, I would rather get to Fred VanVleet today. I'd probably rather get to Harden.
And then last one was Conley or Brandon Williams on FanDuel. Honestly, man, I know that this guy is someone that I think it was last week. You're like, full transparency. I didn't know who he was, and most people didn't. But I know it's Brandon Williams, but they're basically the same price. And if this game, say it stays competitive, let's just say it does, like last game where Josh Hart ripped off 44. He played 40 minutes, man.
Yeah, and
they have no one else on this team.
No, it's Brandon Williams. It's not particularly close to me either.
I agree. He's almost a fantasy point per minute producer this year, but that's only because there's nobody else. Like, when you're starting Ellaby and Eubanks has been fine. Josh Hart's your number one, dude. Like, that's your number one is Josh Hart.
It's not great.
No, it's not. Mrs.
That's my mom giving Canadian money for.
Listen, that's a good super chat.
My mom doesn't have any Canadian cash.
Oh, yeah, they paid in Canadian.
Yeah. I think my mom knows what a toonie is.
It says from Mrs. Engleman, over 800 likes, honey. Good job. Very proud of you. Good stuff, man.
That's good. I don't know why she didn't just put that in the birthday card she gave me too.
When was your birthday?
A month ago.
Oh, okay. That is great stuff. All right. I should say hi to our sponsor, Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. We already talked about a lot of centers. So I say what we do is we'll do that. We'll hit on Yahoo real quick. And then we'll get into some of these expensive centers because you do have Jokic, Embiid, and a couple of other guys on this slate. Then we can answer some questions. We'll go into the post-lock show. Hopefully you guys hang out with us. We'll be discussing any news that breaks, lineups, taking a look at some live scoring as well. And maybe, I don't know, Josh, maybe some other things as well.
That works for me.
We partnered with Yahoo a while ago, and we're doing essentially the best, the most advantageous for you guys that you could think of, because all you have to do is sign up, use the link in the description or the one that Jordan Klein did or is going to put in the chat, and get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Everything on the site. It's a $95 value, and you get the boom bust tool, the ownership, the top stack tool, the lineup builder, not just for basketball either, for any sport. If you're looking to get into some NASCAR, I played that yesterday, a little MMA action, PGA, esports, baseball's actually happening, you name it. All of that, we got it. If they have contests out there, we got content for Yahoo and every other site. All you have to do is sign up. And when you do, just deposit. I still believe it's $10. I don't know why we took that out of the read, but I think it's just 10. Oh, it's still in. Okay. They put $10 and then you will get $10 back in free credit. So that washes itself out. All you have to do after that is enter a paid contest, and then we will hit you up in the next 24 hours. If you need us to expedite it, email us at support@awesemo.com, and we'll do our best to speed that up. But it is nice, Josh, when you have good payout structures and the lowest management fee, AKA rake, that you're going to find. It's just a little added perk.
It sounds like we're shilling the playing at Yahoo. It really does. But it's 100, and we are to a degree. We have to say this sort of stuff one way or the other. That doesn't make it not true. If you're playing DFS contests and you want to be playing it the same way you would play at normal DFS sites, you're going to get lower management fees. The bonuses that you're going to get from getting the month of Awesemo Plus out of the gate, the contests that have no management fee whatsoever, or the everybody wins type contests, you're just going to get a better experience if this is the place that you're trying to build your bankroll. It's you can't deny that if you're looking for the DFS experience.
Right. And to be fair, I think you've probably heard me enthusiastically do other reads before, and the difference is evident.
That's a true statement as well.
So sign up using the link, deposit $10, you'll get $10 back, and enter a paid contest. We'll get you over there. And it is, free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. There's no strings attached. Even if you were shilling or we were, it's still a free month for doing absolutely nothing. So why would you care? All right. Centers. We talked a little bit about Saar, who is starting now for the Oklahoma City Thunder at the 5, which means that Isaiah Roby, who had a super weird rotation, limited minutes yesterday, is going to the bench. Let's talk about the rest of centers, starting at the top with Jokic, the battle of the leading MVP candidate. Should be a fun game. How much of these two do you want to get to today, though?
Well, I'd like to get to one of them a lot more than the other.
Jokic, I'm assuming.
I would rather get to Embiid by a lot.
I knew that was coming. I was just trying to slow play it.
$600 cheaper, and just to me a better option today, given what you can do. I don't really love Jokic's price on DraftKings. On Fanduel at 11.4, I think it's a little bit more reasonable just because you're only rostering one. And honestly, we sort of talked about this one of the more recent times that you and I did a show where they were both on the same slate, where it's basically like, first and foremost, if you're picking one of them, they have to beat the other one. Like they're competing with each other first because no one matches their sorts of ceilings. And then you have to worry about their value relative to the rest of it. But I think it's just easier for Embiid to have a bigger game than Jokic in this spot. That said, no regrets to go to a 6% owned Nikola Jokic, but I do prefer Embiid.
Embiid is on the second of a back-to-back, and he played 40 minutes yesterday. However, that he takes this stuff seriously, right? He's talked about being pissed that he didn't win Defensive Player of the Year. Other times where he didn't get enough games in to win the MVP, which people thought that he might have had a shot. I think Embiid does care about this, Josh, and I can't get inside of his head, but we've watched him play enough now where I'm pretty sure he's saying, listen, I don't care what you say about a back-to-back. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he sits, but actually, no, he's not sitting. What am I talking about? Isn't this 7? Oh, it's 7:30. No, he's playing. He cares about this. That's what I mean.
Yeah. No, he unquestioned, he doesn't want to sit. If Embiid is sitting tonight, it's because the Sixers told him he had to.
Right. And he might pull a LeBron and just go, I'm not sitting tonight. You can't make me do it.
Yeah.
You can't make me.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he should, because it's meaningless. The more important thing should be making it to the playoffs. But I don't know. I think it's wild how long it's been since they've played each other.
What, probably like 3 years now?
December 10th, 2019.
Wow. All right. This is what I want to do because we only have a couple minutes left and I got to get to these super chats. First question, just yes or no. Would you be interested in seeing Jokic and Embiid just get into a brawl tonight?
No.
Okay. I won't ask why. We'll save that for next Thursday.
Why? I'd rather them just play really hard for 36 minutes
late
apiece.
Fourth quarter, man.
No.
After the game.
Embiid doesn't want that smoke.
Yeah, Jokic is kind of scary, man.
It took Markieff Morris like 4 months to get back. He pushed, and all he did was push him.
And that was they call it whiplash. Like he got
in a car accident. Like 40 mile per hour into brick walls. They call it whiplash. Yeah. Anyway, can we let me rapid fire these. I'll go straight to you because I want to get to all these. Cheyenne, Fanduel, Giannis, Brandon Williams, and Chetty, or Mobley, Hart, and Trent. Mobley, Hart, and Trent.
And any interest in Montrezl Harrell tonight? Just yes or no?
No.
Okay. Young. Oh, here's a good question. Young or SGA for DraftKings? Both great plays tonight.
Trae Young or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander?
Yeah. They're both great. I mean, they're both. Okay. Sar or Okongwu, DK tournaments and cash? If Capella's not in foul trouble, you can't really predict Okongwu for those minutes again. It's not to say he's bad because he's a good per minute guy, but what do you?
So I can say this: 20? I have Okongwu as a better play.
Do you have him at 20 minutes? What do you have him at? 20?
21, maybe.
Okay.
Yes, 21. So I think Okongwu's the better play. Do we have updated ownership for Sar?
I'll check right now. But you're right. 21 minutes from Okongwu is probably better because, mind you, he has a great matchup too.
Okay. 1 minute ago. Let me grab this ownership so I can take a look because I'm looking at
Sar
that.
at 8.5% and Okongwu at 21%.
I would if I'm in a GPP, I'm gonna Sar looks more interesting.
Okay. In a tournament, just because almost a third of the ownership.
Yeah, I have Sar for 20.5 fantasy points. I mean, I have Okongwu a little bit higher than that, but I think that Sar has some added variability. So I think they're relatively close to each other. And at that point in time, just if you've got a chalky lineup already, then drop the Sar.
All right. And then Abel Ramos, is it stupid to fade the Clippers? Yes, it's stupid to fade. If you're talking about full fading the Clippers. Yes.
All of the Clippers? Yeah, that's a terrible idea.
Yes. Sam Lee, on FanDuel, would you play LaMelo over Rozier?
No.
And then last one, would you play Rudy Gay if Bogdanovich is? You just don't need to on the slate. You don't need that value.
I don't care what happens in Utah. The answer is no.
You don't need the value at all. Is Sar center only eligible?
I mean, Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley were both out on Saturday. Gay played 13 minutes. Boyan was out on Friday. He played 13 minutes.
Yeah,
Mike Conley was out on Sunday the 6th. He played 15 minutes. It's just not Rudy Gay.
0. Okay, so we're up against it. We got 876 likes. We still got 2,700 people hanging out with us. Boom. Josh, any other? Actually, no. What do we got? We're up. It's 7 o'clock, right? We're locked. Yeah. Okay. We're locked in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Happy birthday, wife.
Boom. What's that?
It's Katie's birthday today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. March 14th. Pie Day.
It is Pie Day.
A lot of pizza places I saw on the local news this morning selling pizzas for large pizzas for $3.14. Sounds like a bargain.
I would order one immediately if I could.
Yeah. Danny Green.
Do they deliver an hour and a half away?
Yeah. Right. Do you have no like local pizza places around? Dude, you must.
Yeah,
have
we got a few. We got a few. I can't go to the most local one that I used to work at, but we have a couple.
Why?
I don't want to give them my business. These shitty people.
They did you dirty?
No, they did the world dirty.
What, someone like shit in the sauce?
Oh no, that'd be great. The owner and proprietor of the local pizza place befriended two elderly dementia type people and stole $300,000 for them, and then went to jail. And he came back out, and they threw him like a hero's welcome, like he never did anything wrong.
Really?
Yep.
All right.
It was a pretty shady place to work too, but I was
so
fine
needless
with it
to say,
at the
not
time.
a fan.
No, not a fan. I missed a couple pieces of food from them, but yeah, I try not to give them my business at all because they're shitty people.
If you look
thanks for letting me deliver pizzas when I was 19, but
yeah, why not? I never hated that. I just cranked the radio up because I did it too. I cranked the radio up, drive around, do your thing.
I loved it.
I
really enjoyed it.
I almost got fired though because it was like 1676 and they gave me 1676, and I'm not going to be like thank you, you know.
Throw the change back in their house.
She was rude too. It wasn't one of those things where, you know, it's like you're just hard up. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh yeah, like if someone doesn't say anything to you, like if you can get that exact to the penny thing, and you're just like, I'm really. And they don't say, I'm really like, I'm sorry. Because I personally don't believe you should order pizza unless you can tip them. I'm just saying, I don't think you should order delivery unless you tip them. So I said something and she called. Yeah. Like to me, the tip is more valid in a delivery situation than it is at a restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
You're providing them the service of convenience.
Exactly. You're bringing it right to the door, right to the door. Anyway. So, okay.
Oh, man, I've got some stories from deliveries. Did you ever have anybody come to the door naked?
No, you have?
One. Not good.
Did he invite you in or was he just like on meth?
It would have been better if it were a heat.
Oh, I don't know why I just assumed.
Yeah, no. Did you? Well, that wasn't a joke. Oh,
just not good.
No, it looked like somebody that ate a lot of pizza for sure. It was like if Grimace didn't want to work at McDonald's any longer.
So did they acknowledge it? Like, do you like what you see, or did they just walk up in a pizza fueled daze?
There was implication that like the door was open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So come on in. Share some of this pizza with me.
More or less, yes. Needless to say, didn't go in.
There's a Key and Peele skit on that where he's in the Sex Addicts Anonymous, and it's one of the greatest skits you'll ever see in your life. It's like there was sauce everywhere.
Yeah, it was not good.
Took the first slice down, lickety split, crust first. All right. Watch the second.
Josh 100% did not go in, I promise.
No.
Look, there's obviously situations where you go in. This was not one of them.
Watch the second one down with a pop. All right. Let's get into a little bit of this. Do we have any news coming through down the pipeline?
I think the only news we're about to get is that Yahoo does not want to sponsor the show any longer.
If you're not signing up there to get a free month of Awesemo, I don't know what you're doing. Especially, if you don't want to hear these antics, you just get cold hard tools, Josh. They don't have a personality. They just tell you what to do. Sometimes people need that little structure in their lives. I know I do.
Awesemo.com/Yahoo-promo, baby.
That's right. Or link in the description. So all of the Sixers, we're good to go. You got Harden, Maxey, Thibault, Harris, and Embiid. Harris finally had a decent game last night. That was much needed. Nuggets, Morris, Barton, Gordon, Jeff Green, Jokic, and then Naz Reid is out for Minnesota. Do you think there's any potential that Towns plays a couple more minutes as a result? Because Naz Reid's a decent backup.
Yeah. I mean, he can certainly grab up 36 seems like it's on the table now. Just looking at Minnesota, because they also don't have Jared Vanderbilt. They don't have other bigs. So, I mean, Nathan Knight, probably the backup. You don't give him as much. So, yeah, I mean, 35, 36 for Towns seems pretty reasonable.
Yo, Roz K said, bet you washed your hands after touching that knob, though.
No, certainly didn't.
People think you went in. I don't think you did.
No.
I trust you. Jordan thinks you went in.
Like, she was a problem. The entire house was a problem. Like, she looked like she lived inside of herself. It was bad. It was bad.
Why would they let us do this show?
It's because we get viewership.
Yeah, that's also true. We're going to hit 1,000 likes for sure. We're at 903.
We're going to hit 1,000 likes,
too.
and you guys can go sign up at Yahoo and get a free month too. Who wouldn't want to do that?
And all 2,200 of you still hanging out for this half hour. You're the greatest. You are. I'm not joking when I say it. You are what keeps the lights on at Awesemo. Without our people that hang with us during this stuff, we wouldn't have it.
DeLon Wright starting.
Dude, is this just this DeLon Wright, playing off the ball with Trae Young? I don't feel great about that.
No, I mean, I don't think he closes. Like, that's Bogdanovic's closing spot.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't know if that really unlocks Wright for anything.
I don't think so either.
I mean, I already had him in for 22 minutes. I didn't expect him to start, although maybe I should have. But I already had him in for 22 minutes, so it doesn't really change anything. He still looks good. He's 19% owned on DraftKings in our last run. I think that's reasonable, maybe a little high.
Him starting actually does make sense because there's really no point of starting Bogdanovich. Like, you want him as your first guy off the bench.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. I still think Bogdanovich still probably plays. I don't know. You could see him get 35 minutes tonight.
I gave him 32.
Okay. We've seen, just this month alone, he's played a 35, a 39. I think it's definitely possible when you take Gallo off the floor. You already have someone like Collins off the floor, which just trickles it down a little bit. I think you can see him get there. But we'll see. Vooch or Ball, DK Cash. Thank you, Jordan. Did any of those games start already? No.
Vooch or Ball?
I'm assuming it's just like a utility spot. It's got to just be last man in, DraftKings Cash.
I mean, I'd rather have Vooch. Feel like, yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Vooch.
Okay. What if Beverly's out right now? The problem here is that a lot of these guys have already been kind of priced up because Edwards has been out. Beverly's had some time off. So now you're not really looking at Clippers style value at all.
No, not really. Beasley's minutes become really secure. And then, I mean, if you're interested in 26 minutes or so of Jalen Noel at 3,500, that's going to be a decent play. He's a good per minute guy.
How much is DeLon Wright? He's 33 on DraftKings.
35. I think he's flat minimum on FanDuel.
I just want to see.
He's 3,600 on FanDuel.
I'm just curious to see what his per minute production is with Trae Young on the floor.
I assume terrible.
It can't be more than 0.75. Let's see.
43 likes from 1,000.
That's not bad for a post-lock show.
Especially when we started with such a low number.
Yeah, I mean, we're pulling the weight here. 0.64 in about 250 minutes. That's bad. That's just objectively not good. So I guess I could take Gallinari off the floor too, because he's played a lot of those minutes with him, and Collins has been out there for 100 of them. Maybe it changes a little bit, but I don't think you're getting any significant bump in 0.6.
Look, here's the deal. When I ran my Sims, DeLon Wright came out in 8% of them, and that's when I had him at 22 minutes. And I don't think that I would be changing that because of what news we got. So I actually see him as overowned.
Yeah. He's just, but you take a guy like that, take him off the ball entirely, and then surround him with Trae Young and other shooters too, right? Like there's shooters on this team. Kevin Huerter's a shooter. You don't really have much need for him.
Shooter.
Gridiron beauties. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. We have fun doing this stuff when everyone's hanging out. Josh and I also might have something exciting coming up for the NBA playoffs. I don't want to say it, right? And I'm not just doing that as some tease, but I don't want to say it yet because we haven't gotten into it, but that could be a lot of fun. You know what I'm talking about.
It would be a really good time.
Put it this way, if you guys are looking to hang out, watch some games with us during the NBA playoffs, you might be in luck, and we might have a really, really good way to do it that makes the experience excellent for everyone. Yeah.
It's exciting.
1,000 likes, baby. There we go.
Boom. Had to happen.
So 3 games have started. No, sorry. What? 2 games have started? 2, some
yeah.
One. This is what's weird about this slate. There's 4 10 p.m. or later games out of 9.
I know. That's miserable.
Jets World just DM'd us or messaged us in Discord, said an Awesemo member won the Millie for PGA this weekend.
It wasn't Ben.
No, wasn't Adam. But
that link got posted that Ben was live, and at that moment, I think John Rahm took a 9.
He what?
John Rahm took a 9 like 2 minutes after it was posted that Ben was running pretty good.
Yeah, he mentioned to me Sunday like afternoon that he might have a sweat. I didn't know that happened. That's brutal. Ugh. You know, if you take a look at this slate as a whole right now, how much pending news do we have to be worried about for these later games? Like there's Van Vliet. There is LeBron on the second of a back-to-back. I think he plays, but I don't know. They got smoked last night. He played around 30 minutes. Rudy Gobert. Beverly. Rudy Gobert said he's going to play.
Levine.
Zach Levine is another one of those guys.
There's not too much. It's Beverly, Levine.
Beverly's 8:30.
Wiggins.
I was talking about the 10 p.m. games, but yeah.
Oh, then we're talking Levine, Wiggins,
LeBron,
Rudy Gobert, and Van Vliet.
And LeBron, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have no confidence in LeBron.
You want to go back to Westbrook again, dude?
Sure.
He's 9,200 on DraftKings now. His price went up $1,100 overnight after he was just god awful again.
7,600 on FanDuel. So
you can't tell me 92 on DraftKings is in any way palatable.
No, the whole Lakers team is not palatable, but no. I don't mind Russ for 7,600 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I guess it's not bad. I think you could live with that.
Right. Like, I mean, I'm not saying that you should have him in like 40% of your lineups or something, but if he's 2% owned, like we're projecting, he's a better play than that.
Zan Lee asked, what if LBJ is out? Yeah, we can get into that. And by the way, last Monday was insane. We had no time to even catch our breath.
No,
remember that?
It was rough.
It was nuts. But if LBJ, we can take this one a little bit more. We can take this one a little bit more reasonable.
I mean, you're jamming Russ at that point on FanDuel.
See, Adi just loves to argue. So he said he wasn't awful. He didn't play the fourth. Dude, he had like half a fantasy point per minute.
Just out of curiosity, why didn't he play the fourth?
Right, because he was awful.
Right. Yeah. They're not benching him because it's going well. For him.
0.57 fantasy points per minute. And you're telling me he wasn't awful? He was pacing like 22 fantasy points in the game if he played the fourth quarter. Come on, man.
It's a preposterous thing to say.
Yeah, I swear sometimes it's out of control.
Oh, it is. It's way more than sometimes.
Okay, so if LeBron is out though, $7,600 Westbrook, yeah, even if you hate it,
you got to jam him in on FanDuel. You just have to. He's a different guy when he's got free reign. After that, it's, Monk is the next man up, but he's sort of appropriately priced. Talen Horton-Tucker would probably be the first guy that I'd be interested in. Like Melo's price is already relatively high. You go there, but it's not exciting. So it's probably Russ, THT, some combination of Monk and Melo. I don't know. They're fucking bad. They're hard to talk about.
They are. And, they were getting crushed in the first half. Dwight Howard starts the second half, and it made zero difference whatsoever. They still got annihilated. There's really no redeeming qualities about them right now is the problem, Josh. Like, if LeBron's out, they probably, lose by easy double digits, but you still have to get some minutes somewhere. Hold on.
I posted the screenshot today. No one on the Lakers other than LeBron James and Anthony Davis have an estimated plus minus that's positive.
It's not even that surprising.
Well, usually somebody just falls into it, even in like you can be a 15-minute a game guy or something and things are going well for you. Now, everybody sucks.
They're all bad. If Van Vliet is out, are there any other spots that you think are worth targeting? This is kind of another team that nobody is cheap now. Scotty Barnes' price is way up. Gary Trent has been hovering around the most expensive he's been all season. No, there's no real legitimate value anymore outside of maybe like Precious Achiuwa.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you can go to 5,500 on FanDuel, 5,600 on DraftKings. Boucher, I think he probably sees a couple extra minutes. He's the per minute darling. Armani Brooks at that point in time, maybe. Banton, probably not, but maybe. It's probably more likely to be Brooks.
Brooks just throws a wrench into the works even further.
It really does. I mean, like you just, you go to more Siakam, you go to more Barnes. I already like Gary Trent, so you go to more Trent. Stuff like that.
Corey Ballmer, best 3,600 DraftKings utility play. And Adi, we were talking about Westbrook. Why would I assume that? Why would I assume that you were talking about LeBron? Anyway, unimportant. My apologies.
That's an understatement.
Corey Ballmer, best $3,600 DraftKings utility. So basically, best
Maladon, Okongwu, one of those two. Brandon Boston. Well, that already started, so fucking not him.
Okongwu. Yeah,
Maladon or Okongwu.
Yeah, those are the guys. There's plenty down there today.
Yeah.
I would definitely
Lindy Waters is fine. Justin Holiday, if he plays, Sar. A lot of those guys look the same, but Okongwu and Maladon would be the first two.
Lindy Waters the third, by the way, just sounds like he was born to be a famous blues musician or something, right? That name is pretty awesome. Lindy Waters the third.
Is Muddy Waters kid?
Right. Well, no, because he wouldn't be the third.
Could be.
How?
Muddy Waters Jr., man. You know he was Muddy Waters Jr.? His grandfather was the original Muddy Waters.
No, but he's the third, and his name's Lindy. Oh, well, Muddy wasn't his real name, is what you're saying. It wasn't.
I'm assuming it wasn't
his birth name.
Some shit parents.
I think it'd be pretty cool. Well, we're gonna name him Muddy
because he came out like just covered in Duke.
All right, let's see. McKinley Morganfield is his name. What's his real name?
Lindy Waters?
No, Muddy Waters. McKinley Morganfield was his real name.
Muddy Waters is a way better name.
Yeah. Then what? McKinley Morganfield?
McKinley Morganfield sounds like a law firm.
Yeah, McKinley Morganfield and McBride. Maybe not McBride, but no offense, Terry. Lindy's his nickname. Oh, is Waters fake too?
Yeah, his name is McKinley Morganfield or whatever. We just went over this, man.
No, I'm talking about Lindy Waters.
He's Mindy McCormick or whatever the third.
Wait, are we sure it's a nickname? It doesn't say. Basketball Reference shows his real name is
Wikipedia says Lindy as well.
Maybe he was joking. Maybe he was joking. I keep getting NFL updates, just some pointless stuff.
I know. Who cares about the NFL?
Well, I have alerts on for all the like NFL ones. I just keep them on.
You should turn them off because it's awful.
Tom Brady's back though.
Yeah, my mom told me that when I came home yesterday because I was on the road. So I pulled and she's like, "How about Tom Brady?" I was like, "What are you, Tom? What do you think you know?" And she's like, "Well, he's not retired."
Mean to your mom?
Well, I mean, why would I think that Tom Brady unretired? First of all, you didn't retire if it was a month ago. Nothing happened. But why would you unretire a month later?
Everyone was saying he got a taste of dad life and just won it out.
I mean,
I buy it.
Nothing about the past month is different for Tom Brady every single year, whether he retired or not. Tom Brady's not doing different shit from the third week of January until the second week of March.
Yeah.
That's the same shit every time.
Not necessarily.
Necessarily.
All right, so let's see.
By the way, Lindy Waters, there's no sign of him having a name that isn't his name.
His name's Lindy for sure. For sure. You've got let's see what the Clippers are doing early on. Okay. All right. 6.5 minutes in. Batum 3 points, a board, 2 dimes. Zubac 6-2-1. Kennard's got 5 points, 2 dimes. Terrence Mann just lagging behind the group here, doing virtually nothing, but still a lot of time. Interested to see what the rotations look like. You know, does Boston come in and does he just play 2 like 10-minute rotations in this game, Josh?
Probably, yeah. Look, I don't necessarily. I mean, it's trending this way, but I didn't necessarily think that that Batum was like long for this game. I mean, he doesn't soak up a ton of minutes all that great normally, but looks like it's going to be fine.
Yeah, Coffee's got 2 tray balls already. Helps you out on DK a little bit. It's weird having only 1 7 p.m. game on a slate like this.
I know it's Clippers Cavs too. I can't imagine wanting to watch this.
Stinks. Parker said Mitchell over 5.5 assists or Drew Holiday over 6 assists. Well, we have a free player prop tool, and I'm not saying this just to avoid your question. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought it up. But we have a free player prop tool, and we have everything at Odd Shopper, which is also totally free. So I can tell you right now where we're at on that. We have Drew Holiday because our projections are in here as well. Totally free. Drew Holiday assist. We have him projected at 6.6, but that's okay. So that's 64% win rate on over 5.5 assists. Prize Picks, you said, has him at what, 6?
I have him at 6.9.
Okay. And then what was the other one? Donovan Mitchell, he said?
I don't know. I don't even know where you got this question from.
Yeah, we have Donovan Mitchell at 5.5. So if you're just looking at our projections and our expected win rates, I would go with Drew Holiday there based on.
I have Mitchell at 5.9. So I would also go with Drew Holiday.
Yep. Yeah. You guys have any other questions? Hit us. Can be about anything, basketball, or you just want to know some deep, dark secrets. Like what Josh and I were talking about before the show. I'm still shocked by that.
Yeah, I mean it sincerely too.
I don't want Yahoo to drop us, so I won't.
You shouldn't.
Use that link down below in the description too. Get a free month of Awesemo Plus. $95 value. Just sign up and deposit $10 on Yahoo. They'll give you $10 back, and you just have to enter a paid contest. So yeah. Here's a good one for Josh. Indica or sativa?
It makes no difference to me.
Also, when are you getting the lip tattoo is another question.
I figure we'll chat about that a lot on Thursday. And really, I need to know what I'm getting first.
Oh, yeah. No, we're doing Splash Bros.
That bro plural? Maybe
I'll go with the Embiid one. I'm going to do a poll. And whatever the audience says, we will go with.
Fine. Yeah, I don't mind getting it, but like we haven't ironed this out, and we're going to have plenty of time to do so on Thursday.
Plenty.
I'm so like I drive home Wednesday night or like Wednesday, and I'll get home at like 10 o'clock at night. And I was just like, oh man, that's going to make for a really hard Thursday. I was like, no, it's not.
Manny C, how often do you go out and cite them in? Are you making a shooting reference?
I don't get it.
That's just, I don't know. I love shooting. Go to the range. My brother-in-law's got like a sick range in his backyard too, which is cool. You would enjoy that. Even if you're not into that, you would have some fun, man. Telling you, man. Telling you.
I've enjoyed any time that I've gone to shoot guns.
You haven't, or you have?
I have.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
I'm more of a handgun guy though.
Have you shot long guns?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Katie's dad's got just, he's like exactly what you would picture him being as a Southern man.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
He's
certainly down for that shit. He's like, oh yeah, I've got a rocket launcher in the garage type guy,
I'm not like, I enjoy it. I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy in terms of always knowing everything. It's just, it's a fun hobby. Plus a lot, like both of my brother-in-laws are huge into it. So it's one of those things where like, I want it to be a competition. I want to try to hit a target more than you do. I want to try oh yeah. Yeah.
It's like anything else in my life. Like I got to turn it into something. Otherwise I can't do that shit.
If you're not competitive, what fun is it?
I mean, like this type of job that we have now sort of ruins everything that we do. Like everything has to be, I need to try to win something or I cannot play that. Like a board game, I'm insufferable.
Me too. Oh, that party games, especially if I get a little alcohol in me, outdoor yard games at a party.
Yeah.
I like to win.
Yes. Same.
Yeah.
Same. It's like, there's no, like, I can't play for fun. That's not a thing.
No. It's fun if I'm winning.
Right. Well, yeah, Katie's always just like, Josh is a bit of a sore loser. I was just like, I find if you find a good loser and I'll find you a loser. I'm not trying to be out there to like make everybody else feel better. I want to beat everybody 21-0 in everything I play.
Are you good at beer pong?
Was I good at beer pong? Is probably
like the one that I never got big into.
I would say that I was decent.
Glenn Smith said, has DFS ruined sports and can you ever go back? I don't think it's ruined sports for me because where I grew up and where I live, this.
Yeah.
The fandom for professional sports is insane around here. So you never really lose that. Obviously it sucks when you've bet on the opposing team because you think it's a good spot or you need the opposing players from a DFS standpoint to do well. But no, around here, you need to, and where I'm like Philadelphia, outside of the city, a decent amount now. But if you're not like an Eagles fan or a Sixers fan around this way, you're not living.
No, you're smart.
No, it's fun around here. I mean, maybe a little tribalistic, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet it's great.
All right. Give me your predictions on stat lines tonight for Embiid and Jokic and the final score. You guys too in chat. Give me fantasy point predictions for Embiid and Jokic and final score of this game in the race for MVP. And one thing too, Jamie Moore, welcome to the team, brother. I just saw that. Forgot to mention it earlier. Welcome to Team Awesemo. Make sure to jump in our March Madness competition. If you are a premium member here on YouTube, just click on that See Perks and the community tab. The link is right there. Get in it. We got a bunch of people in that already. We have some amazing prizes. So get that bracket filled out and go ahead. Yes, Teddy Wayman. Thank you for the super chat. I love cornhole. I love the game cornhole. It's that and washers are two of my favorites.
Agreed. 32 and 13 for Embiid.
32 and 13 for Embiid. Okay.
Jokic triple doubles.
Ooh, who wins?
We'll go like 21, 14, and 11. Sixers win by 6.
Ooh, you had the Sixers by 6, huh?
I don't know.
All right. I like it. JK Lawrence, welcome to the team, brother. All right. They're rolling in here. They're rolling in.
And we're rolling out because it's 7:30.
Yeah, we are. But this has been fun. Appreciate all you guys. Still got 1,500 with us. Jordan Klein, as always. He's our guy. Appreciate you, man. Hanging out. all show long, helping me get everything together because I generally can't do that. But we'll close it with this, Josh. Fred VanVleet is now probable. So
there you go. I liked him before.
Alleviates some of the stress. You guys are the best. Thanks for hitting those thumbs up, getting us over 1,000, hanging out till the end, subscribing to the channel, joining it here, following Josh at Josh Engleman, me at Laffy_D. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good rest of the night, everyone. Peace.
That's a quick 90 minutes, man.
Yeah, that was easy.